I'm bored of my old skin. Let me just make one that's entirely red with a stupid face on it. And then, that's still my skin now. And I love it. It's great. One thing I do want to say about it is this is also advice for any other event hosts. Never invite someone just to get someone else. According to him, he's never seen someone properly grind and fail. Every single person who's stuck to the grind has succeeded at some point. Sometimes it takes a couple months. Sometimes it takes 3 years. But if you just grind, eventually you'll get there.
Alright lads, welcome back to InsideMC Mogul Mail, the part of podcast where I sit down with Wolfeei. Hello.
Hello.
Different type of intro today. Don't really know why I did it like that. That's not the usual, but that's what we're rocking with.
I mean, yeah, it's me, Mogul Mail. Like, I mean, you kind of had to change it up,
Exactly. I'm with the Minecraft Mogul Mail guy. Like, I had to. Wouldn't make sense not to. We were having a great chat before the podcast. You've pretty much just woken up and you seem very, very awake. So it's going to make for a great little talk here.
I mean, yeah, probably. My mind is like completely refreshed, reset. Like I just woke up, no thoughts in my brain. So whatever you fire at me, I will be not prepared, but prepared as well. There will be nothing blocking my thoughts.
Nothing blocking your thoughts. Wow, that means Block Wars leaks, lads. Make sure to
okay,
listen
maybe
to the
not.
entire thing, and you'll get to know what's happening in May on Block Wars. Specifically May, there's something really cool happening, right, Wolfeei, in May.
If I speak, I'm in trouble.
Star Wars theme. You get like Star Wars players in Block Wars.
Yeah, let me just call up Darth Vader real quick.
Darth Vader. Yo, I mean, to be fair, at this point, with the amount of people the amount of variety you're getting into Block Wars, which we'll get into talking about anyways, like, I wouldn't be surprised if at one point you got like an actor or something in.
I mean, if we got like the actor for Darth Vader in Block Wars, how many viewers will we pull? That's the question, right? Based on the answer, I might give it a shot. If it's like 50,000, we'll look into it.
Depends on the promotion they provide as well. Like if they're not promoting Block Wars, then do you really want them in?
Yeah, actually, if they sponsor the event, sponsored by Star Wars, we'll make every game just space themed. That's fine. That sounds good.
Perfect. All right. Yeah. Anyways, Wolfeei, welcome to InsideMC. I've wanted you on the podcast for a little while. It seems to be now that I'm getting a lot of people who I've wanted on the podcast for a while on, which is really, really cool. So that's nice to see. I joined this community back in March. You are a name that has been quite prominent in the community since I've been here, through Block Wars and through the Mogul Mail channel, and just how much you're clued up with on tournaments and the thoughts you have on tournaments. So, we are going to be talking about you and everything, but yeah, a big talking point I feel like is going to be tournaments and kind of just like getting your views on certain things. So, and this is certainly going to be an interesting podcast. However, I always like to give the intro for you to promote yourself. Who are you? What do you do? A fun fact. I mean, I've already said you're a prominent figure, but what exactly makes you that in your words, if you'd like?
Okay, well, I'm Wolfeei. I'm Dutch. I'm 21 years old. I'm a content creator on YouTube and sometimes on Twitch, mainly talking about events on my second channel and sometimes doing variety content on my main channel. I have been in the content creator scene for, I think, since 2015, but since sometime in the middle there, like I think 2017, 2018, I changed my name to Wolfeei, so you won't find 2015 Wolfeei, okay? That didn't exist back then. But I've also been in the event scene ever since, I would say, that's actually a good one. I think it's been probably 4 years because I started watching like Minecraft Monday. Then I think I got into Minecraft Saturday a little bit. I was like in their public Discord as just like a random person, I guess, for such a long time. And then at some point I joined MCC testing, etc. And the rest comes after that. I mean, it's a long story. And now I organize Block Wars, which has been great. It's been stressful, but it's been great. So yeah, that's me.
How long have you been organizing Block Wars for? Well, and like I said, we will get into talking about that. There are a few topics beforehand, but I am curious.
I joined the Block Wars team, I think, in December of 2022 or 2021. It might have been 2021. I think I just lied to you. Yeah. I joined after Block Wars Origins 10, which was known as All Stars, because and I can't get into too much detail, but the original organizer stepped away because they thought it was time for someone else to take over, and I offered to help because I was passionately making like for fun team predictions and stuff in the Discord already, and talking about I like this event, and maybe this could be fun. Maybe this could be fun. And they said yes. And then I think that was after 2021. I could look it up. But yeah, and it's been a wild ride for sure. But we'll get into that, I guess, as well. Oh boy.
Yeah, we're gonna kind of be going back and forth a tiny little bit. Yeah, I just because I want to ask about blog posts, but I'm like, actually, I want to get like the not mediocre questions per se, but like the general questions out of the way before we get, because I think blog posts is going to be a long topic because it is like something that you're clearly very passionate about, something you're doing really, really well with right now, and it's quite a little bit inspirational, I guess, to see what like you're achieving. So good intro though, good intro.
Yeah,
I respect it. The name Wolfeei, you said you changed to it in 2015. You mentioned how we couldn't find Wolfeei before that, which is understandable because it's a new name. Have you like revealed what your name was before you changed it to Wolfeei, or is that part of the not being able to find you before 2015?
I'll be real. I don't think I'm gonna reveal what the name before was for a while. Not because it's problematic, but because it's very cringe.
Okay.
Also, maybe I misspoke. I changed my name to Wolfeei, I think in 2017. So for everyone if anyone wants to make a wiki page or whatever, 2017, right? Get your facts right.
Maybe I misheard you. Maybe I misheard.
No, that's completely fine. It's completely 2015. I think is when I started, which was with my original name that I will not reveal yet. But Wolfeei I changed in 2017 because my friend at the time called Custom Name, who I had known since we were both really small Minecraft YouTubers on Mineplex, and someone who eventually flourished into someone who had like one of the largest community Discord servers ever, told me, your name sucks, change it. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then I was like, what do I do? And he's like, use Wolfeei. Here's an idea of Wolfeei. I was like, that sounds pretty nice. I'll do it. And then that's how I got my name.
Oh, they just straight up said to use this name, and you said, okay, and now you've just been rocking with it ever since.
Yeah, he was just like, yeah, I think this sounds good. I was like, that looks, I mean, on paper it looks nice, so I'll use it. And then because the name was available on Minecraft as well, and everything, so I used that, and I mean, still sticking by it. No plans of changing it ever, so pretty good.
It's a good name, and I've said it to a few people as well. Like I've had a few people on the podcast, so I've said it too. It's like Wolfeei is very much a tournament-friendly name, as in when you see someone get announced for a tournament, you're not expecting to see like Wolfeei Gamer 193. Like you see Wolfeei, and I guess it's not because of tournaments per se, but like I went or still I guess kind of go by Insane Orbitzz, but my like page name now is like on YouTube is Orbitzz, on Twitter it's now Orbitzz with a microphone, like even Discord is Orbitzz. I've kind of just rebranded straight down to that while still having the Insane Orbitzz, and it's like I feel like it's just more brand friendly to have Orbitzz rather than Insane Orbitzz, and like Wolfeei is very much if you see Wolfeei in a tournament, it's very much a tournament name. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I think that might be potentially from just the fact that my name is so attached to tournaments in general, but I could definitely see it though. Yeah, it doesn't really give off like like if you see the name Wolfeei in like a Minecraft tournament, you wouldn't really think, oh, who is this? What do they do? Roblox? No, it's like like the EEI type of thing. Very much. Yeah, I mean, it does give off like old Minecraft
vibes.
Yeah, it's like OG Minecraft username type of type of formatting.
I guess it's like linking back to like Wolfeei Game or whatever I said, like the numbers. it's not clean. There we go. Wolfeei is a clean name. That's what.
I mean, clean names are just good in general. I mean, if you think of some of the larger creators who don't just use their full name as their online presence, think of like a Ludwig, think of Valkyrie, think of even in the Minecraft scene, Curryway, Feinberg. They're all people who just have one name pretty much, and it works. Obviously, having just one word as your name doesn't mean anything because you have like Tommy in it, who was like the biggest Minecrafter ever, pretty much almost. But then you also have like Tubbo, and who's he's just Tubbo. Like it just having something short and like recognizable that like kind of just glues you into someone's brain. It could be pretty good for anyone who's considering branding themselves for content creation. I would recommend going for a short name. It's pretty useful.
I mean, longer names can also work, like CPK, Tommy in it. Like so, like, longer ones can work. But I get what you mean. It's like even InsideMC, it used to be called Inside Minecraft, but it's a lot more brand friendly now. Being called InsideMC. It's a lot shorter as well. So
I mean, CPK to me is still one word, the way at least it's usually spelled. I assume it's probably not intended to be one word, but to me,
oh, sorry, okay,
looks like one word.
guess, yeah. I thought when you said like one word, I was more thinking in my head like short ones, like Wolfeei, Weinberg. I didn't know you meant like actual just straight one words.
No, I just mean like one thing is your name, where like it's not like, I mean, even having a name that's multiple parts, but if your name is like Will Gaming 54, then like nobody's gonna say Will Gaming 54. First of all, the entire thing. Will Gaming already is a little bit large, but if you're just called Whale, it's like not unique enough. So like I don't know how like memorable that will be. It's just as an example. So that's why I'm like, if the best username, in my opinion, is like a word that isn't like a one word that isn't a real word, but it looks like it could be a word, maybe like Feinberg, like Curryway. Yeah, good examples. Like I mean, yeah, sure, like Wolfeei, and or like Tabao, and it just needs to be like, it needs to just, you need to look at it and you're like, that makes sense, and then that's what to me at least seems like the best username in my opinion. Even like outside of Minecraft, I mean like a Masayoshi. I don't know if Masayoshi is an actual word. It probably is, or an actual thing, but like I'm just looking at my my Discord DMs, but even that, I mean, it's one word, even though it's like, it's pretty long to pronounce because it's similar to CPK. I mean, it has quite a decent amount of syllables in it. It just looks clean because it's one word with one capital letter. It just looks clean, and I like that. I just like that a lot, and I would recommend people doing that. It's nice.
Yeah, and I agree. Definitely look at like, I mean, yeah, no, I don't know why I'm saying I mean for. No, I straight up agree. What was I about to say there? Anyways, what about the skin? Because you like kind of on the kind of same sense of not simplistic per se, but at the same time simplistic kind of names, or like straight up names. Your skin is literally just red with a, what would you even call that face? I've never actually really known what to call it.
It's the Wolfeei face. It's recognizable.
Because there's other creators who have the same face as well. So
yeah, they're copying me. That's why.
Fair enough. So where'd the Wolfeei face come from then?
So what I did, this is like a mix of multiple occurrences that aren't related, but coincidentally are linked for whatever reason. So I used to have a skin, or I don't use it anymore, but I have part of my online presence is like some anime looking dude with red hair that I used to use for a long time, and I had my like profile picture on YouTube, etc. was like a 3D render of that dude with red hair, etc. And one day, actually, before I get to that, I was also changing the face for like different things. So I had like Halloween, I had like Christmas, etc. So I had like a hat, and one time I had some like derpy looking thing, which is the face I'm using right now, on that skin, and I thought that looks funny, so I kept using that because I was like, that looks silly. And then one day I was just like, you know what, this might be it didn't age well, but I looked at Dream's profile picture and I was like, hey, it's simple, and his skin, I'm like, this is pretty simple. I like it. I like simplicity, and I was like, let me try it. So my first profile picture rendition was pretty much exactly Dream's thing, but with a square head and a red background, and it just said Wolfeei. I was like, this is a little bit too much on the nose. Let me just like completely restart and just make a profile picture from scratch. And the first attempt is what I have right now, and I was like, I like this. I'm gonna use it and I'm gonna stick by it. And so that was step one. So I had this profile picture with my original skin, and then I was like, these two things are no longer really linked, and I want to have consistent presence everywhere. So then I was like, let me just try to make my profile picture as a Minecraft skin, and then I did it, and I had like only the head. I was like, well, this would look stupid with anything but the entire body being red. So then I made the entire body red, and that's, we're still here now with that conclusion. So that's how it happened. It was just really like, I'm bored of my old skin. Let me just make one that's entirely red with a stupid face on it, and then that's still my skin now, and I love it. It's great.
Is this your full-on branding and like full send branding forever, do you reckon?
Within Minecraft, maybe. I mean, I don't really know if I would ever alter it. The only reason I would alter it is if like I go into variety content and things go really well, and like I present myself with like my face and everything, like and stuff. Maybe that's when I would like change profile pictures from this to something else. But I don't have any plans for that right now, so probably we'll keep it like this. Also, I was told, fun fact, that my skin is actually really good for thumbnails, which is why I was in so many Skeppy thumbnails without ever having spoken to Skeppy in my life. And then yes, yeah, I made a video about this, I think a couple months ago now, actually probably quite a little bit ago, but my friends called the lads at least pointed it out at some point, because they were all Skeppy event players, so they kind of pay attention to Skeppy's like content and stuff. They were like, so Wolfeei, you are on thumbnails. What happened? I was like, no, I'm not. You're lying. And then they showed it to me. I was like, that makes absolutely no sense. Why am I on these thumbnails? So after it happened like a couple of times, I was like, I'm just gonna make a video about this, and just it's because it's funny, and I'll just mention it and see what happens. So I made a video about it. Then Skeppy responded, and then Skeppy's I think editor or thumbnail maker, JustVerb, also responded, and then messaged me on Discord being like, he sent me like a very ominous screenshot of like the behind the scenes of making the thumbnail, and I was like, what? And he told me, you have a nice skin, by the way. I was like, what? And then he explained to me like, oh yeah, your red skin is like really good. It's like how like fruit is like the green, no, I guess dream, but nowadays more so fruit is like the green skin people use in thumbnails.
Yeah.
I'm like the red equivalent, I guess, of that, which, I mean, hey, I'll take it.
13th of June 2023, so only 7 months ago. Still really, really recent, actually. And yeah, the Skeppy is my biggest fan. I see the comment on the video as well, so it's quite cool that Skeppy saw that as well. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
Good bit of lore, good bit of Wolfeei lore there. So, what's your kind of story then, Wolfeei? Like your kind of journey, I mean, I think over this, I mean, I know you've kind of been in the community for a really, really long time with MCC and MCC testing, and Block was before the split, you were there so much. It's like, but like, how did you kind of come to be in this community? Because you've been around for a while, and I feel like I just from what I'm looking at, 2023 seemed to have been your biggest year yet. Could be completely wrong. Do correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, maybe. What is your story?
So I guess I'll talk about my story, I guess, in terms of MCC, because stuff before then is like, I mean, I've already mentioned it for the most part. Actually, you know what? I'll just start at the beginning. 2015.
Do whatever you think is best.
2015 stuff. I was playing Minecraft just for fun. I mean, I was in like high school, whatever, just school. I don't even remember. I don't know what it's called. The whole education system in the Netherlands is way differently named. Either way, I was like 14. So I was playing Minecraft. I was doing Mineplex content because I always watched like Captain Sparkles, Dan TDM, etc. And they inspired me to start content. At least Dan TDM, for the most part, was like the person I loved watching when I was younger. And I was like, I want to do what he does. So very, very early on, I was doing modded content, but I was like a little kid, so I didn't know what I was doing. And then I moved on to Mineplex because that was the main server I was playing. Then I was very involved with the Mineplex community. They had like a YouTube rank called, I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was like a purple YT rank. It might have been just YT rank, and then YouTube was the full thing. It was like a YT rank for people with 2,000 plus subscribers, and that was my goal. I was like, I need that. I need this YouTube rank. So then I was making content, and throughout making content, I made a lot of friends. Some of them, like Custom Name, who I already mentioned, I met through Mineplex, and he ended up getting the YT rank, and we like celebrated it together when he got it, etc. And then another old friend of mine who I can't remember the name of, I'm completely sorry, but he also ended up getting YT rank, and we also celebrated it, and like that was all a fun journey, etc. And then I don't remember what happened, but at some point I just stopped with Mineplex. I was just like, yep, that's it, and then moved on to Hypixel. Obviously, I mean, it was the first next step, I guess, the best next step. Don't remember exactly what got me into Hypixel, but I was very prominently playing Hypixel, mainly playing like Skywars and like UHC. I was a very big PvP Andy, and UHC I did for a little bit, which went pretty decently okay. I didn't really like get to meet super like a lot of people. I didn't like get any like super popular, but I did get invited to things as like the small guy in town, in the UHCs, and that was really fun. It actually did teach me a lot that I still use right now, at least in terms of like hoplite, etc. So that's very fun. Either way, afterwards, I think around that time 1.9 started becoming prominent. Maybe might have been a bit earlier, but I was doing an SMP with my friends in 1.9, and I realized, this new comment's pretty interesting. I didn't like love it. but I was like, this is interesting. I'll try this out. And I started playing CubeCraft. And then from there on, time skip, probably like 2 years. We're in like 2019 now. MCC became a thing. I was watching like SMP Live. I was paying attention to Minecraft Monday through Tech Now. I was watching like, what else was there? Minecraft Ultimate sometimes, etc. Up until like lockdown and stuff, I didn't really do much. And then sometime during lockdown, when MCC had started recently, they opened up testing applications, because I was watching Techno play a MCC with like the whole like, yeah, there was the notable teams. MCC 4, obviously, there was like MCC 8 was really cool. And I think before MCC 8 happened, because the new testing wave was after MCC 8, I became a tester. Now, I had never been in a group like that before, didn't know anyone, so I was just like full sending. I was like, you know what, frick it, I'm just gonna apply, put my heart and soul into this, because I had a bunch of experience applying for like helper and like trainee. I think it was on Mindplex, and helper it was on Hypixel. Applying for those things, never got accepted. I applied for those things, and that experience got me into MCC testing. Then MCC testing, I was in there still like a small content creator, so I was still like, you know, trying to make content. And very early on in MCC, there were like no rules in terms of making content out of tests, aside from you can't make sense of time content, and that's okay. So I started making content on testing footage, and I think that's probably like the first moment where most people nowadays maybe could have heard from me, was when I started making MCC testing videos. I think my first one was when I teamed with Dong Fortnite, C10WD, and a guy named LT for my third test, I think it was, and we ended up winning, and I turned that into a video. Yeah, that is like, oh boy, that's like that's at least 3.5 years ago.
Back before they banned testing videos, right? Or did they ban them, or did they just stop you from being able to upload them? I can't remember. Like, I can't remember what it was exactly.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
that was a whole thing as well. Luckily, I was not at fault for that. I also won't reveal who was at fault for that, but
yeah,
a certain person ruined it for everyone. Anyways, yeah. So I made that video. I was just testing around a bunch, having fun. I think that whole era is like slightly blurry to me, because I mean, in testing, I was doing well and stuff. You know, I was winning. I got first individual on my first ever MCC test, which the only other people who've done that is whoever was the first MCC tester and Kel Awesome. So hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Or I think there's probably another person, but whatever, right? There's only like max 5 people who've ever done that. But yeah, so I was just testing around, making content in the meantime, and then one day, I don't remember if this time, it's either I became an internal tester first, or I made my I Sound Like Technoblade video first. One of the two happened, probably around the same time. Either way, upon joining internal testing, I mean, I had already grown pretty close with the MCC testers, and we were just like a really big friend group, and like everyone was really chill and stuff. And within internal testing, we were, you know, testing stuff out. I was under NDA, so I cannot tell you what was being tested.
Wait, when you say internal testing, like what? Like, yeah. I'm a little bit confused. Sorry. So internal testing would be like so the normal testing is just testing the tournament games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's in? I don't know. I don't know if it's part of the NDA. If you physically can't actually tell me what internal testing is, but what would that entail if you are able to somehow tell me?
I can descriptively talk about that. Internal testing. So MCC testing, when I was a tester, I'm sure things have changed since. The two types of tests that they would run for the MCC testers were full scale tests, which is the full event where they just run all the games that they intend to have in the upcoming event, which, you know, 9 or 10, whatever. At the time, it was more than 9. And then there was also focus tests, which would only be either one game or a couple of games, where they don't need to test everything, but they specifically wanted to test like parts of it. And that was the main tester group. Now, the internal tester group, it's kind of like pre-testing to the main test. Like, it's the step before where things still need to be tested, and the Nox crew at the time, I'm sure the same thing works. Now, they need like a couple of people to quickly, you know, test something real quick while they're working on it, that they couldn't get the main testers for, because, you know, internal testing was way more laid back. It was kind of just a ping and show up type of thing, whereas in MCC main testing, it's like a ping that tells you like in 24 hours there will be a test, sign up now. So it's a little bit more like, it's kind of like the like the CIA, you know, the very in demand group of people to get
very
for testing,
comparable. I guess. Yeah, CIA.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like
basically the same thing.
So yeah, the internal testers. Some things to mention was when the practice server was being made, the internal testers were responsible for testing that stuff, and the main testers pretty much never touched that, I think. I mean, maybe after I left, they were added to that at some point, but the practice server was just internal testers, and we used to hang around on because we had like a separate copy of the practice server, because they didn't want the internal testers to play with the players, which totally makes sense. So yeah, we had our own copy. That's where we figured stuff out. Like, let me think. What are things we figured out?
Are you allowed to reveal this?
Some things are. I mean, I could say one thing that's very unimportant. There's barriers, obviously, in the map. And I was a sneaky little guy who, in F3, would run around the walls and find where the barriers were missing. And then I go like, "Not screw, fix this!"
Had a barrier. Wait, was this to the practice server you're saying?
Yes.
So you were finding if there were barriers missing in the practice server. Yeah,
I was really bored.
Honestly, I respect it.
I was really bored. I had a fun time. It was funny. So that's the thing. I mean, internal testers for season 2 is an example. I think season 2 was in late May. I think it started, right, or something like that.
Yeah, May, June-ish.
Because I think it was May, because June would have been Pride, unless they did it twice in June. I don't know. Either way, I think in March or February. I think it might have been March. Internal testing started, where main testing started April. So like again, in internal testing, I can't tell you exactly what we did, but
you were the CIA basically.
Yeah, we were the CIA, obviously. No, but we were focus testing some games. It's very early stage, so I got to see. But I mean, in internal testing, you just get to see a lot of the behind the scenes, and it's very interesting. It's very fun to see like things get built up from scratch, especially for something like MCC at such a high level of quality. It's very inspiring and just very impressive to see what they're able to pull off and how things start. That's pretty much internal testing. Does that explain it enough?
Thank you. Yeah, okay. No, I just more so because I didn't realize there were so many different stages of testing. I thought internal testing would have just been done by Nox Crew, for example. I didn't realize you actually had that. So it's just cool. It's cool to hear. Yeah, but thank you. That clears up perfectly. Because
the Nox Crew also tested sometimes. They would either join in on internal tests from time to time, or if it's if they only need 2 people, they'll just cover it themselves. And sometimes when we logged onto the internal or onto the server, fun fact by the way, for a while the internal testers were permanently whitelisted on the main MCC server. So as much as we weren't allowed to, if we really wanted to, we could have just logged in during an event. But we weren't allowed to.
That would have ended well.
We are not allowed to, but it was possible.
So which is really funny. Wolfeei could have been an MCC if you really wanted to, basically.
It would have been my first and for sure last appearance in MCC ever. Yeah. The moment I log in, the Nox Crew would be like, "What are you doing? Log off right now."
How do you know you were how do you know that? How you was always whitelisted?
They told us. They just
told you.
Yeah, because internal testing was on the main MCC server. Testing in general is always on the main MCC server. So yeah, they're just we can't be asked to whitelist you guys every single time. You're permanently whitelisted. Just don't be weird about it, okay? And then we're like, okay, good. Yep, sounds good.
That's kind of cool though, that you can turn around and say that you were part of that, because MCC, one of the biggest, or if not the biggest Minecraft tournament for a very long time. Mm-hmm. You can turn around and be like, yeah, they trusted me a good amount.
I mean, we were under NDA, which is a contract technically. It's not a contract, but it's non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah, if you break an NDA, you can get in a lot of trouble. So it is very much a contract.
I had to give them my full name, address, and sign a document for 3 years. Yeah, which by now has expired. By now my NDA has expired, but I have too much respect for the Nox Crew to still reveal what it was, even if I'm allowed to.
Plus, what would be the point, anyways, of ruining your reputation with the Nox Crew by turning around and be like, "Yo, yeah, this happened. You might as well just appreciate it in the moment and not leak it."
I mean, here I'll use a fake example as an example, so don't think this is true. But imagine if if I was like, "Oh yeah, you remember? So 3 years ago when they were making Meltdown, which by the way, never when I was in testing, Meltdown was never even a thing. So this obviously isn't true. But I was like, Meltdown used to be called Pew Pew Game, and it was actually instead of blue theme, it was actually yellow, and it looked like pee pee, and
Heard it here first.
If I said something like that, it's okay, cool. Anyways, don't care.
It doesn't really reveal much. Okay, thanks for letting us know that it was renamed. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I could be like, oh yeah, this thing from season 2 that hey, by the way, I saw that really early on, and it broke. And it's like, yeah, no crap, it's freaking broke. It was like it was in very alpha stage of testing. Of course, it breaks. Like, yeah, there would be no point in me saying anything. So yeah, I will keep my mouth shut. Shout out Noxru, they do a great job, and I respect you, and I will not be leaking anything. At least not on purpose. And then maybe I'll accidentally slip something out.
Maybe one day. We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when it comes.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. And then you left MCC testing, and once again, correct me if I'm wrong here. This is actually kind of partially an assumption, but also I think I might be right. You left MCC testing when MCC Rising announced, or am I wrong?
No, that's correct.
Okay, so they gave you guys the option. Essentially, from what I know, and just I guess this is just me kind of showing that I have done my research, or I guess I just know it. And once again, I could also just be wrong. They announced MCC Rising 1, which I unintentionally predicted, by the way. I want to put out there, I predicted both MCC Risings, which is pretty cool. The first one unintentionally. I basically made a concept team for MCC and was like, oh, imagine if this team could apply for MCC one day. And then the next week they said, oh, by the way, we're doing MCC Rising. So that exact team that I made the concept of, we all applied. But they turned around and they said, oh, if you testers, you can apply for MCC, but you'll have to leave testing, and either you can't join back for 6 months or you can't join back at all, or one of the two, right?
So what happened was MCC. So actually, let me date this back to the first MCC quote unquote Rising, which was MCC 10, where they had viewer teams.
What about that? Yeah.
At the time, we were told we can apply as well. Now, in reality, there was absolutely zero chance that the testers were getting in, but we were allowed to apply. But yeah, so at the time, we were just in testing, we could apply, etc., blah, 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 whatever. Didn't get in, obviously. No testers have gotten into MCC Rising, at least. So that was a thing. Then the second, or I guess MCC Rising 1, like the official title, happened, and we got a message in the Discord saying, hey, you guys are allowed to apply for MCC Rising. However, there's a catch. You have to leave testing now, because they were going to test the cycle for MCC Rising, so all the games and all the new stuff, etc., for the first MCC Rising. And they were like, okay, if you apply, you can actually get in, but you're not allowed to see everything that's being worked on, internally. And that makes complete sense. They're like, if you want to apply, just shoot me a message and I'll temporarily remove you. And when we pick the teams, you'll be invited back immediately with no like punishment or expenses, that whatever, right? You can just join back. And so
that's nice. They gave that.
Yeah. So me, Misty, Shane, Annie, I think Ameston, maybe as well, and probably some others. I know Keegan or Gummy Rams was also someone who applied, I'm pretty sure, and probably some others as well. I just can't remember off the top of my head. We all left for, I think it was like 2 weeks maybe, during which they were doing the whole team process, etc. And we obviously, no testers end up getting in, so we all joined back. And then came the catch. They were like, so we've decided that if you ever want to be in MCC, leave right now, and if you don't leave right now, you will be permanently not able to be in MCC, just because they're like, we don't want testers in. So then myself, Misty, Firebreathman, Animation, and Ameston all left, because they're like, we want to have a chance at least if there's another Rising, we'd like to get in, or if we want to, I mean, in Shane's case it paid off, in Misty's case it paid off, get into MCC regularly. We want that to be possible. And yeah, we all left. Since then, I think they've changed the rules, where I think it's no longer like I think now it's like you have to be out of testing for a year before you have a chance of getting in. But at the time it was permanent, so it was a little bit more, it was like a choice we had to make, where I was like, I think it's time for us to leave. So yeah, that was the thing. And yeah, I never joined testing back. I did talk to a lot of the testers in the meantime. I mean, a lot of them are still my friends to this day. And
a few of them in Block Wars Origins anyways.
A lot of them are in Block Wars Origins.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot, but I was like, you said you still talk to some of them, so I was like, I shouldn't assume there's a lot.
Well, I talk to some of them like on the daily, pretty much. Whereas in Origins, I mean, I don't speak to most of the Origins players really, just because, I mean, I'm not going to talk to like hundreds of people every single day. Yeah, I talked to a lot of them, especially early on. They were like, oh yeah, man, it sucks that you're gone. We miss you. And like, do you think you're going to join back? And I was just like, nah, probably not. And then nowadays, they're like, oh, you remember when you left MCC? That really paid off, didn't it? And I was like, yep. Or MCC testing, I should say. Or like, that really paid off, didn't it? I was like, yep. Pretty much. Yep. No, things are looking pretty good.
I mean, it did though, because if you think about it, on like a long like cycle of things, for instance, like I used to be a Bedrock content creator. I say this like nearly every single podcast, but you never know who's listening. And this is what CPK said last week. You don't know who's listening to what podcast or stream or whatever. I left the Bedrock scene early 2023. I brought back the podcast in April. When I was a Bedrock content creator, I invited Noxite, Feinberg, Fruitberries, and a few other people, but I invited them three on the podcast through Twitter, which I didn't get a response, which is understandable. I mean, it's Twitter. All three of them I had on the podcast this year since being a Java content creator, all because I left Bedrock. You left the MCC testing scene, and now look at what you're doing with Block Wars. It may not be MCC, yeah, but then you got to think about it. Had you stayed in MCC testing longer, it's all a big like kind of domino effect. Would you be where you are right now with Block Wars? Would Block Wars be where it is with you or without you? You know, so I think it paid off.
Yeah, it definitely did. Thinking of it now, I left MCC testing before I joined the Block Wars team because Rising 1 was what August or September 2021.
It was I think it was August. It was August.
And Block Wars, the staff team for Block Wars, I joined like December 2021. So yeah, that was a couple months after. I have no idea if I would even have joined. I mean, I probably would have, but I don't think I would have had the like content creation aspirations in terms of Block Wars to like lift the event up to a new height. So yeah, I don't know what would have happened if I had never left. I genuinely have no idea. I have never really thought about that.
I don't really tend to do what ifs, but like it is a kind of fun scenario to think of, like that. Yeah, it didn't pay off because you didn't get into MCC Rising or you didn't get into MCC, and who knows, maybe you will one day. Like that's not ruling you out completely, but with what you're doing with Block Wars, it paid off.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna get to talking about getting into MCC maybe at some point, but that'll be there's a lot of stuff about that.
Why don't we do it now while we're on the MCC topic?
Hey, we can.
Yeah, let's just do it. We're on the MCC topic. We might as well keep talking about it.
Getting into MCC is so difficult. Even knowing Scott, like being friends with Scott, it's still really hard because you can't really fault him for it. The roster for MCC is just really complicated to work with in terms of adding new people because it's so like well connected and well integrated. The way I talk about it with my friends is MCC to me feels like a friend event where it's Scott's friends who coincidentally happen to all be content creators. It doesn't feel like a content creator event to me, which is completely fine. That's good actually because it makes it feel more natural. But that does make adding people really difficult, and that's why I don't really blame Scott at all for like not mass inviting a bunch of new people to the roster. But I would like him to add a few more, and it doesn't even have to be me. I would completely understand if I don't get a chance to play, and I mean, like considering I have blockers and everything, I'd be completely satisfied with not getting a chance to play MCC for now. There's some people, I mean, that I think would make for very interesting additions who would actually help make the MCC roster feel a bit more fresh and unique.
I mean, stay on. The MCC roster is stay on. I'll happily say that, and that's not entirely a bad thing. Yes, it's bad in a sense of like, I mean, I did the math. So I used to, for like a period of time during the summer before I started my new job, I did like an MCC fantasy league, and I did the maths, and I think in the span of 4 seasons, there was a total of like, I don't know, like I think 7 new players, and it's just like, and that's only in 4 seasons. That's this including the other like 6 seasons.
4 events, you mean?
Sorry, 4 events. Sorry, yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say 4 seasons. There's only been 4.
there was 66 players that were possible 160 or something like that, and it's just like that's like a space for 100 new players in a span of four tournaments, and it's just like, but I mean, it's also not a bad thing in the sense of what you're saying. It's a friend tournament. Like at least we know everyone's well connected and well bonded. There's not that like worry of making it. So like, I mean, with other tournaments, it can be hard to kind of balance teams, or because a lot of people might not want to team with certain people, whereas in the MCC, because they're like the majority friends, they're not too bad like teaming with each other kind of thing.
Yeah, it makes team making really easy. But I mean, it's a positive and a negative, of course. The positive being what we just talked about, because pretty much everyone is pretty well connected. You have a lot of freedom in terms of who you can put with. But also, as the downside of that is, you get a lot of the same people being in and a lot of the same people being put together. Where after how many events now? Like 40 of them, pretty much 40, maybe even almost 50 MCCs at this point. You just see a lot of duplicates, and at this point, yeah, it's getting a bit stale. I hope they can figure something out, because it's not just Scott. I mean, the event itself also definitely would benefit from like a little extra push of new content that doesn't even have to be a new game.
New ideas, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I really hope that if they make a new game, it is like a trained new game rather than than like a build March rework or whatever. That would still be cool, but like I think MCC needs something brand new. It's been a little bit too long since we've had something like fully new, aside from the non-canons, because the non-canons they've hosted in 2023 were absolutely fantastic, but the main event's just falling behind a little bit, in my opinion. There's also the player side. That my main thing I think that I noticed in season 3 for MCC with the player side is that the non-canons gameplay wise were very unique, but the thing is, usually what I look for in a non-canon, in my personal opinion, is like different players, and a lot of the players in the non-canons felt similar to the regular events. Obviously, in something like a Twitch Rivals, there was not really much they could do about that, because it wouldn't make sense to add like newcomers for that, or even for Party. Would have been way too confusing potentially to add newcomers to that, or get like a Ludwig in there,
like Scuffed and like even Pride. Like.
Yeah, like I'm sure that there's a very good reason why the rosters didn't feel that unique, but that was the main thing to me is like something like Underdogs, which I'll get into when we talk about Block Wars as well. MCC Underdogs to me is one of the best like things MCC has done, and it shows that like despite having something like a Twitch Rivals, which also is one of the best things I've ever done, but something like Underdogs, so simple. It's just the same event with almost entirely different people. It's so interesting. Like that's why I mean, once we get into Block Wars, something like Rookies, I think is such a fantastic concept as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the player base is really important, and as much as Noxus put in the effort, Scott also, or rather, I mean, I don't know if it's just Scott. I assume it's just Scott who does player management. But Scott needs to also maybe bring like an extra handful of people in, whether that's new people or like returning people or non-canon players into the mix for MCC to try to freshen things up a little bit. I think that would be very good.
So you've had their non-canon, so at least let them play a few main events. Or it's been enough time now before since the non-canon.
Yeah, I mean, it's also really hard because the event's getting so much more competitive in terms of like skill level and even competition. I mean, you have people like Purple who do streams where they like have a document where they figure out like the entire Parkour Warrior scoring. Which, hey, fine by me if they want to do that. But something like that might scare away someone like a Saikuno from playing a main event, or like Ludwig playing again, which I'm sure he would be down, but like it's just an example where like the event is so much more competitive now that's bringing like variety people at like a lower skill level in is tough unless you can make them a fantastically fun team. If you get Ludwig, give him Fruitberry back, give him whatever, another crazy good player, and Connor eats pants. I'm sure he'd love it no matter what placement they get. That is like obviously a very specific example where integrating someone like that might be possible. I think it's just really hard, honestly. So yeah.
I do want to say, like, so you're probably pretty aware of this. I was doing all the announcements. I have, as of last season of last tournament, of MC Mayhem, become the player manager, and I will say it's very hard. I've had like a decent amount of people reach out, and it's hard because you don't really want to say yes to someone or like say possibly to someone and get their hopes up, but then you also don't want to say direct no to them because they could like maybe fit into the event in the future kind of thing. And it's like I think I'm dealing with it pretty well, but it's also based on invites. Like right now we're thinking of more people to invite, and it's about who do you invite, when do you invite them, how do they fit, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, player management can be really, really hard, especially just because it's the turning away aspect. I don't know, I feel bad turning people away, like when I know their friends are in the tournament, but I can't just invite everyone, otherwise we're just in a bit of a bad situation then.
Player management to me has always been very odd, especially when you are like a relatively sizable content creator like myself or Scott, who's obviously way bigger. Not only are you like just like these people aren't just your connections, some of them are your friends, and when you have to tell your friends like, sorry, you're gonna have to sit out this event, or sorry, we can't get this friend of yours in, or whatever, like these things, it makes it really difficult because I've already had it in the past where some players have been benched multiple events in a row, and they reach out to me and they're like, hey, just wanted to say like I'm a little bit bummed that I don't get to play. Is there like a reason? And the reason really usually just boils down to within the brackets of players that you're dealing with, there's just other people who make sense to be in more. Mainly an issue here is the top player ranks in Block Wars. We have like, I would say like 20 people who are maybe 25 people who are capable of like top 10, and only like 10 of them get in every single time. Obviously not every one of them sign up, but like it leads to a lot of people getting benched on a pretty frequent basis, and there isn't really anything we can do about that. Because with
it's
stuff
part
like
of the parcel. I mean, it's like how I see it, right? And it's kind of a mentality, and it's not. I'm gonna word this in like to make it not sound negative, because it's not meant to sound negative. Is what I'm trying to get. It's like there's lots of Minecraft tournaments, and I guess a good thing with Minecraft Mayhem is there's a lot of people who are in Mayhem who are also in like Block Wars Origins or in Pandora's Box or Minecraft Mania, and like just a bunch of different tournaments, for example. So how I see it is like there's like a few people, for instance, who got benched last season, and I was just down to team making and stuff. It was our first time team making, and I don't really do too much of the team making. That's mainly down to Jack, AJX, and Personified. But I do have my say on like one or two players. For instance, like Turbo Biggie was someone who I got in because I invited them, go Bedrock Creator. And it's like it's I feel sometimes kind of bad like benching someone, but then I guess also a part of like I guess comfort is like there are other tournaments that these people are in. So, like say they get like benched from like Mayhem this season. There's still that possibility that they play in like Block Wars Origin. So there's still that possibility, and it's like it makes you feel less bad because it's, you can't put everyone in every single tournament. That's just how it works. You can't, and if you go into a tournament thinking you're gonna play every, I'm not saying anyone is, I'm not saying like no one's reached out to me saying they had a problem. I'm just assuming that like some people are sad. And it's like if you go into every single tournament assuming that you're going to be playing in that tournament non-stop and stuff, it's just it shouldn't be a mentality kind of thing. You need to you need to go into tournaments and like hope to play, but not expect it as like as if it's your right kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean that leads into like I guess entitlement to an extent, which that's such a complicated thing with Minecraft event hosting. It's one of the biggest like problems I think that we deal with in terms of like internal sides of events, not just Block Wars, but I also noticed this from talking to people in like Pandora's Box and also in Origins, because there's just so many people who feel like they should be a regular in these events upon the rosters expanding in like Block Wars and PB, or upon like benching being much more regularly cycled in Origins. People get benched a bit more often, and it's just like really unfortunate. Like they expect to get in, like you said, and they don't, and then they're surprised. And in some people's case, some people handle it better than others. I obviously won't be naming names, but I have previously had to deal with people who were just mentioned like, hey, I got benched, can you like see if there's a possibility that I can get in a much more friendly way. And I've also been messaged before in a much more, I guess, emotionally charged way, not where they're like yelling or at me or angry, but you could very much tell that they are genuinely upset. Yeah, like the people are genuinely upset, and it sucks because they're my friends, and I just have to be realistic to them, which is one thing I have stood by in Block Wars, at least in main Block Wars, is I'd rather tell you honestly that you can't get in or you're benched because of this than make it mysterious and you have to find out what it actually is, or you have to guess and you're left wondering, because I wouldn't want someone to do that to me, so I'm not going to do that to you. This type of situation. So like for example, someone like I won't say a dark name, but a top player in Block Wars said like, I got benched. Why did I get benched? I thought like I already missed an event, like can I play? And I was just being real to him. I was just like, sorry man, like the other top players just have higher priority, and we have to prioritize viewership a little bit as well, and the combination of that just made it really difficult to fit you in. And because I was being realistic, he responded being like, I understand that, thank you for being honest. And I was like, yeah, that's what I do. So yeah, like it is really complicated. And yeah, I mean, God, I lost my train of thought, but like,
well, I mean, at the end of the day, right, and I guess just my take on it is it's nothing personal. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say on the podcast, I mean, we talked about it beforehand, is I reached out to you when I first joined this community in March, sent you a DM on Twitter trying to join Block Wars, right? Obviously at the time I was new to the community, I didn't know what Block Wars was. I just saw Minecraft tournament, could be fun to play in, could be nice to reach out to people. I wanted in. I'm not in Block Wars, in case that wasn't obvious already. I will say, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that I'd like to play it. I wouldn't have reached out otherwise. And this isn't me trying to hint at anything, so don't please. You wouldn't take it that way anyways, I don't think. But like, I'm not. It's not personal that you said no or that you didn't invite me to Block Wars, because if you didn't like me, you wouldn't be sitting down talking to me right now for as long as you're talking to me or possibly going to talk to me. It's not personal. It's just how it kind of works. It's like with SMPs, right? Like I know lots of people have lots of friends who love SMPs, but you can't invite all of your friends. You can't invite everyone, and it's sad, but kind of just how content creation goes. It's kind of just part of the parcel. It's kind of like you have to kind of but it's just something. I mean, I guess it's growing with the times to an extent as well, right? Like, how you said you kind of prioritize viewership sometimes, which is completely understandable. You want block wars to get a lot of traction. I'd like that can be taken in like a motivation sense as well of, oh crap, let me work my ass off, get to that, and then maybe one day I might kind of fit in. Or did you get what I mean by that?
Completely understand that. Yeah,
it's just at the end of the day, it's nothing personal. You not inviting someone or not putting into an event doesn't mean you hate them, doesn't mean you don't like them. It's a bit hard when like, I mean, okay, if I can ask this, and if it's not a leak, how many people in the block wars roster?
Let me check that for you real quick. There's a lot of people on the server. Let's see. I think
a give or take a number. It doesn't have to be the exact.
Origins, I'll start with. Origins has as of right now 90 plus, so over 90 people. Then Block Wars has over 90 plus people with the main player role as well, and 40 plus people with our like guest role, which our guest role is just for people who we would like message if they want to play, but they never like sign up through a ping. So the way I see it is like, why would I ping them if I know that they're never going to sign up through a ping? So I'll just like, if we want them, we'll message them. And main event that would combine to about 130 plus people. And
you have 40 spaces in the event.
Yes.
And a lot of people you are gonna put in more than others because they just fit the theme more.
Yeah.
You can't, and that, I guess that's back to it. Like, they wouldn't be in the Block Wars roster if you didn't want them there. They just don't, like, I guess, fit as well or merge as well as some of the other players, for example.
Yeah, and for sure, I don't dislike a single person in the Block Wars roster, but it's just complicated. And also, to be fair, as much as there are 130 people in the Block Wars Discord for players, the group of people who like continuously sign up, like max like 60, maybe 50. We don't get 60 or 50 signups every single time, but around that range is usually the max. Some people just decide, hey, I'm gonna just play this one, and they sign up like once every 5 like events. Some people sign up every single time. Some people never sign up, and we just invite them manually, and then they're like, I'd like to play more, but I will forget to sign up, so just message me every single time. There's a couple people who fall under that. It's just I don't know. The 130 thing is it's just the people that are in the server. It doesn't really mean that much necessarily. It also includes some newcomers. Obviously, I won't say who, but there's some people who've been in the Discord for a long time and have never played yet. So eventually we'll try to get to those people. But yeah, and I mean, even if you look at like MCC, I think MCC's total amount of players is like over 200 if you include Rising. So realistically, it's probably like 150, I think, maybe a little bit less or more. There's a lot of people who've played in MCC in the past, and I mean, from what we've already said in terms of the recurring players, probably also like roughly 60 people who cycle in and out for main MCC and stuff. So like, I don't know. I don't think the big roster is really that big of a deal. It's nice to have options, and in terms of Block Wars, we are a little bit more keen to reach out to people if they want to play just randomly, pretty much. Whereas I think in MCC, Scott doesn't really ever ask people to sign up, aside from like Etho once and maybe like Mumbo, or like to play rather. Maybe there are cases where he has messaged people. I mean, I assume for like some of the Pride events, he might have messaged like a Ludwig or a Valkyrie. I don't think he does that for regular MCCs really ever, which I'm honestly very curious if Scott did that, which I would very heavily recommend it. If Scott sees this, I heavily recommend that you would reach out to people if they want to play, because you would be surprised at how many people love playing but never sign up. It would make the roster potentially pretty interesting, honestly. I think it could make for a fun little variety without introducing that many newcomers in the next couple of events. It can make a very fun, varied roster with that.
I guess now that we've kind of transitioned into talking about Block Wars, unless you had anything else to say about MCC. I know we were started by talking about MCC, then we just naturally kind of merged into Block Wars, but did you have anything else to say, or should we kind of just full send on this topic now?
Honestly, I don't think so. I mean, there's not really much I can say about MCC that I've already said before, where it's like, I like MCC. I really appreciate this, the Noxru and Scott, what they do. Obviously, there's some things I think that they should experiment with, like newcomers, like new content, etc. But overall, I mean, what they do is really good, and I love what they make. I really hope that the event will, hold on strong for a long while still. But I am, in reality, a little bit worried that Season 4 could potentially be either the last one or very close to the last one. I just hope it's not, but there's a chance. And I hope that's not. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But from speaking to certain people, I I am a little bit worried. So we'll see. That's about it for MCC. I know, cliffhanger, but
oh my goodness. with Block Wars then, big question, big question, and it's kind of a general one that, I mean, there's not really a set answer, I imagine, but how do you go about choosing who you invite to Block Wars?
That is such an interesting question because there's no concrete answer to that. So what we do for the most part with newcomers, as opposed or contrary, I guess, to MCC, probably half of the newcomers that we add are people that we invite when they've never asked to join before, just because we think it'd be cool. And if I look at the current Block Wars roster, let me pull that up real quick. These teams have been revealed. Poke was very early on. We messaged him if he'd like to join. He's playing now, but like he was someone who never asked to join Block Wars, so we just invited him. Handsome fella was someone I met semi recently, expressed interest in joining, and then we brought him in. Fruit, we messaged. He said on stream that he was interested, but never messaged us, so I just reached out to him, and then he got in. And Super TF probably doesn't even play Minecraft really anymore. I just messaged Sleepy if he'd want to bring Super along as like a fun little team thing, and then he's in now. So pretty much every newcomer this event is someone we asked, I think, to play. If I look at like Block Wars, I think Block Wars 8 was one where it was mostly people who asked to join, I think. Block Wars 8 was like Parasite asked to join, I'm pretty sure. Milkberry asked to join, if I remember correctly. False was showed interest before I invited her. Martin was a substitute, and Force of It was a substitute. But I think Force of It had already expressed interest as well in the past. So yeah, it's kind of just a variety. Like, we don't really have, I don't know, we don't like, asking to join means that you'll get put on like a list, not a wait list where it's like a cycle of people getting invited, but a list of, we keep track of who's asked, and we'll look at this from time to time and be like, we put this person in, do we want to put this person in, etc. Alongside like, who do we know and who's in the roster right now, and who would be cool to like add and put with these people. Like it's a combination of both. And the way we handle team making nowadays for the most part is, if we have a newcomer in mind, we would make the team based on signups first pretty much, and then build the last slot with that newcomer instead of inviting them right away and then figuring out a team, which we do that sometimes. Like Fruit, we just kind of invited because we were like, we know for a fact Fruit will be possible to fit in, pretty much guaranteed. There's not really any problems with Fruit, so he'll be fine. But in terms of like, I can't really name names, but like there's like some variety creators who obviously aren't familiar.
If you, instead of saying names, just sub yourself as a name in, just to make it easier.
Sure.
Yeah.
If I, as a variety creator, I guess, join Block Wars and I don't know anyone or only know a couple of people, we as team makers would rely on those people that they are familiar with to first be down to play before we can reach out to them, type of situation. That is one very big thing we did for rookies, where we had to, rookies isn't a sign up form that we send out and people apply. Rookies is 100% just us messaging people, where we have to kind of build up that like roster. And fun fact, I've already said this on stream, the event after Block Wars 10 is rookies, and I've already started getting people for that. I don't know when this podcast goes up, but
next Friday.
Okay, then by the time this video is up, like a week and a half ago, we started getting people. I think probably next Friday would be the
so we're recording on the 15th. This podcast is coming out on the 26th of January.
Oh, 26th. Okay, then it would have been
oh god, is that the day before Block Wars? It is, right? No, when's Block Wars? Block Wars on 27th.
The 22nd is 23rd is a Friday, because it's on the 24th. No, it's not. 28th, 20th. It's on the 20th.
It's okay, so it's this week. Block Wars is this week. Okay, this podcast is coming out 5 days, six days after Block Wars. There we go.
Okay, but so 26th. Okay, so we started messaging people 2.5 weeks ago from when this video goes up, roughly. But not like message every person we want to get, because some people that we plan to have in rookies are playing in Block Wars 10, and we are not going to ask them to play before Block Wars 10 is ended. I don't even remember what I was talking about, but we message people sometimes.
I mean, that's the same with like Mayhem, I guess. As soon as I started up as a player manager, I did like a bit of an invite wave, and let me go through the join logs here. 1 second. For instance, Turbo Piggy, had expressed zero interest. I invited them. Reliable, I think, had expressed interest in the past. Invited them. Space Pioneers was originally in the roster. Invited them. Ghosty Fruit hadn't expressed interest. Invited them. Not Justin hadn't expressed hadn't expressed interest, but invited them. Emily, just I invited. But then there's a few more people who were like planning to hopefully invite who haven't expressed interest, but we want to invite anyways because it's just like, I guess it's the same with like the player checklist format, right? And this is how I see it. Is there's sometimes names that when you're applying to an event, you don't think to put them in don't team or do team, right? And it's kind of the same with like players. They like, sometimes won't cross their mind to send a DM going, oh, I'd like to play in this tournament. But when you invite them, they'd be like, oh, I'd like to play in this tournament, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, it's a thing where, at least in Block Wars, because our roster is expanding, so like I guess it's pretty quick, but it's more expanding. Instead of expanding in size, it's expanding in variety very quickly.
Yeah.
That's just leaving, or it's opening up way more options for who we could bring in, and with that, it's just such a nice quality to have with our roster. We can pretty much just reach out to like not any creator, but like a good amount of creators that we at least have contact with, and come up with a full team that would suit them perfectly. And that's the way we would introduce them to the event. That's the main thing with rookies, which is, I remember what my train of thought was. We have to obviously build the roster for rookies. Like I said, we manually invite a few people first, then we get a few people based on those people being in, then we get a few people more. It's like a snowball effect, rather, I would say. But without naming examples, there's some people that we plan to invite who I think we would never be able to get just from being like, you want to play with nothing attached, like, yeah, if we just told them, are you interested? But if we told them, do you want to play, here's the team we have in mind for you, and it's like 4 of their friends, and like this would be like great content, the chances that they say yes are way higher. And as of now, it's worked decently well. So yeah, for any other event hosts, if you want to get like a big name in, or like a person, if there's a person you really like, how to get them in, you have a way to get to them, at least try to make a team for them first without telling the other players, because if they just signed up, they don't have to know. Try to come up with a team first and then bring them in. If I could think of an example, I mean, if like oh boy, is there an example I can think of? If Mayhem wants like I could think of like a person probably. Yeah. If Mayhem wants like, let's use Tabao, right? Let's say you want Tabao. You give him a team of like, I don't even know who's in the Mayhem roster, like Shane, Callum. Is Callum in the roster? I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Shane, Callum, and then Toby, and then like probably a lower placing player. If they're that could work. Yeah, maybe. It would have to. You'd want it to be someone Toby's very familiar with, preferably. Yeah. It's just an interesting example. But let's say you come up with a group of 3 people. I think Antfrost is a way better example. So say Antfrost, CPK, and like whatever, right? Someone else. You have this trio of already existing players in the roster, and you're like, oh, this team really needs like a mid player. Oh, I love Tabao. I want to invite Tabao, right? that's your thought process right now. Yeah. So right, and then you have this team, and you have a way to reach out to Tabao. You're like, hey Tabao, we have a Minecraft event on this day. This is a team. Would you like to be on it? Chances are he'll say yes. Like that's just the reality. Like if you have something made for them, it's just like way easier for them to say yes. Same would apply to me. I mean, if any other event is around and they'd like me to play, chances are, just as a solo invite, I wouldn't really be interested. If you tell me you could be with Shane, you could be with whatever, you could be with this other person, and it's like all my friends, I'd be like, yeah, of course I'll play. Like that sounds great. It doesn't even matter what event it could literally be an event where you press a command block and it starts working. As long as I have a really fun team, I don't care. Like, that's kind of to put it into perspective. Same, we use the same for Block Wars. I mean, MCC probably has done that in the past. Maybe I don't know if they do that anymore. But yeah, sometimes you have to, you gotta build up your teams before you get your newcomers, and it allows for a lot more options to be possible. I mean, some of the people we got in Block Wars over the past few months would never have been able to join had we not built things for them. So yeah,
fair enough. Does that kind of apply to the podcast partially as well? I guess part of the reason you were willing to come on the podcast was because those familiar names had already come on.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I mean, the time you reached out recently was the first time I really like noticed the invite, and obviously I looked into it a little bit, and I had seen like clips before of like Stefan being on, and like I think it was like Fruit was also on. I was like, oh yeah, I know these people, and then I looked into it a bit more. I was like, oh, there's a couple of familiar faces in there, and I saw some of the topics you talk about. I mean, I assume it's Stefan. I didn't see the entire episode, but like I assume you'd probably mention MCC for a significant part of it.
I mean, the podcast was literally about 4 years of MCC, so it would have been really bad if we did. didn't.
So like obviously there's event talks about it, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I might as well take up the opportunity to talk about something I'm very passionate about. So yeah,
I mean, I shot my shot in your comment section, which is really risky. I don't normally tend to do stuff like that, but yours, basically, I watched like your videos, but I hadn't got around to watching this one yet. I get a DM, oh, you're on a Wolfeei Mogul Mail video. I'm like, am I? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, so I pull it up. They send me the timestamp, and I was like, oh, you were reacting to the Fruitberry clip of talking about player toxicity and stuff, the Reddit video, and it made me realize that I should start. I mean, I knew this for a long time that I should make shorts, but like that was part of many things that motivated me to do it. So, and thank you for the promotion, I appreciate it. But then I commented on a video and I was like, you know what, screw it, it doesn't hurt. So I commented on a podcast account and I was like, oh, I'd be interested in having you on. And then you replied to the comment, and then I sent you a friend request on Discord, and now we're sitting down having a conversation, so it all works out. But you just have to take risks sometimes, but you also have to kind of don't just invite a bunch of your friends. And then it's so I had Anthos on the podcast. They help reach out to players for block wars, right?
Yes.
And the thing that they called it was like getting the middlemen.
I could say that middlemen as in like the players or them, or like Anthos.
I think I don't know how they worded it. I can't remember, but they basically just said like it's so not even with block wars. Sorry, I was just saying that's what they do. They were talking about the one block every day account. Sorry,
right.
And they were saying how they got like people on, and like then their friends came on who they wanted on stuff. And it's kind of what I've unintentionally done with the podcast. I've just gotten familiar faces on to get familiar faces on, and then to get more familiar faces on. Does that make sense? So.
I mean, that the same applies in events. Yeah, that's how MCC got so huge. Like, I mean, I don't know how much attention you've paid to it in like how MCC grew in like at least like season 1 and like early season 2. But like you see like first event, I would say the main people that attracted other people to join is like Phil and Wilbur were I think in the first event. Second event, Techno and Tommy in it. Not that long after, you see like Tubbo, you see like Dream, you see like these people who they are familiar with and friends with, who they talk with a bunch. I don't think Dream was friends with them at the time yet, but still, he was big. Yeah, like these are just familiar names keep appearing, and that'll catch the attention of other people, and then more people will notice it, and it's a snowball effect where eventually MCC became so huge that like even people who don't play Minecraft are like interested in playing in it. They were like talking about it, asking to join some, and like I mean, something that comes to mind is there was like tweets like before Jacksepticeye and Crank or Ethan Nestor played in MCC. They literally tweeted or replied being like, I think it was Tommy and Rambo at the time, or like, can I team with you guys in MCC? Can we team in MCC? And it was like, Jacksepticeye is literally one of the biggest YouTubers ever, and he asked to play in a Minecraft tournament. Insane. Like it just it shows the scale of things. But yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, it's just all about just doing it, just being smart with it. And like I've kind of unintentionally done it with the podcast. Like I didn't mean to do it in this way, but it applies to tournaments as well. It's just like it kind of linking back to when you said about the invite people and draft a team for them. It's making people familiar with the event by giving them familiar players that they're familiar with, kind of thing.
One thing I do want to say about it is this is also advice for any other event hosts. Never invite someone just to get someone else. I know this has happened in an event before. I will not name the situation, but a past event host who no longer is an event host has invited a person who isn't like a super well-known person to their event before because they were closely linked to a larger creator. And what ended up happening is that larger creator never ended up joining because they wanted this larger creator, but they couldn't get to this larger creator themselves. So they figured out like, what is the step to get there? How do I get to this large creator? And they invited the step to get there. It turns out this person that they invited, great person, but no, they didn't get invited because this organizer thought they were a really cool person. They got invited because they know that they're friends with this, this other person. And then this larger creator that they wanted to get never actually got in, never got invited, I think, or they never said yes. They just never joined.
Fair enough.
And it's just like, hey, like you can't just every single invite needs to be someone you want to have in, and if they coincidentally are friends with other people you want to get in, great. But as long as you're not inviting them just to get someone else in, you're always going to make sure that you handle your players and just people in general with respect, and don't just get them for their connections. Get them for who they are, and for what player they are, and what presence they bring to your event. Because sometimes the smaller creators are the most valuable, and it takes a long time to learn that, but well, not necessarily. It actually doesn't take that long to learn that, but it takes a long time to figure that out if you're not integrated into the event scene. So yeah,
it depends on your mentality as well. I mean, like, so how I'm referring to the podcast again, but this is all I can really relate to because I'm still new to Mayhem, so I can't really use that. It's like, you know, I haven't, a single person I've brought on the podcast, I haven't asked them to reach out to somebody else. Okay, one exception, and it was only because I was literally asking for their Discord and they asked if they could give it. I asked President Poundcake for Oliver MCSR's Discord name, the person who, one of the people who run MCSR ranked, and that is the only time I've ever, like, I guess like in a sense, asked someone to reach out to somebody else. Everyone I've kind of contacted myself or attempted to contact myself, and I think I've done like a pretty good job of it. So you just need to kind of turn around and, you know, essentially, where am I going with this? Just, yeah, don't use people. Invite people because you want them on. Invite people because you want them on the podcast. Invite people because you want them in your tournament. Don't just invite people for the sake of, oh, this could help me get them into my event. Like, it's just not worth it, and it's a really shitty thing to do.
That does make me think about like how Block Wars' player management and team making compares to MCC, where obviously in MCC Scott is by himself. As far as I remember, he is just in charge of player management, getting people in, putting people on teams, etc., whatever, right? Whatever you want to include in player management. It's just him, and that's very limiting. And one thing that Block Wars has that's really beneficial is the team that like actively talks about stuff, etc. Right now, it's mainly me and Anthos who talk about it pretty much on the daily because we were just super passionate about it. But like Misty and Shane, at least in early Block Wars and still to this day, are still very helpful and passionate about the project. And like, I mean, obviously, I'm super good friends with all three of these guys that I just mentioned, but like, they also, you know, bring people in. And if it was just me, Block Wars would have not even gotten close to the size it was now. Like, there's people in the roster that I would have never gotten to reach out to had I not had help from other people. I mean, one of the first examples is like, like Block Wars 1, we had Captain Sparkles, which is just because of Shane. Shane reached out to Captain Sparkles and Jordan said yes. We would have never gotten to Captain Sparkles without Shane. At Block Wars 2, Small Ant joined. That was due to Misty. Misty offered, hey, I can bring Smant. I was like, that would be sick. Without Misty, would have never gotten Small Ant in the roster. And there's plenty of examples to mention as well. I mean, one of the notable ones as of recent, Joe Bartolozzi, that's all thanks to Anthos. Me, Misty, and Shane would have never been able to get to him probably. Maybe it would have been possible, but we would have never even thought about it. But Anthos was like, I know Joe Bartolozzi. I think it'd be funny if he played. And I was like, hell yeah.
It was very funny that he's playing. And he's consistently playing as well. Like, you know, it's
he's become one of the most valuable players to have around in terms of variety, which is another big thing in terms of events that Block Wars is striving for is getting a more different roster. Because one issue I have, and it's a gift and a curse, I guess, is that every event, at least every upcoming event, kind of has the same people, which is like good to, I guess, you know, because it's these people all just love playing events, so they'll consistently sign up, etc. But it makes just everything feel a little bit samey. And Block Wars for the longest time was getting, I guess, semi called out for this. I guess, you know, people were like MCC clone this, blah blah blah, whatever. Because we were having so many MCC players join unintentionally, you know, not because they're on MCC, but because they are the Minecraft creators
and they wanted to play. Like,
yeah, and they were interested, or we reached out to them and they were like, yeah, that sounds good, etc. Like, Block Wars now is really going for that variety like approach. 3 of the 4 ads that we added for this event that I mentioned, obviously, I think it's either 3 or 4 or 5, but most of the ads this cycle are people who never play in events, pretty much. I think, okay, I don't remember the last time he played. I think the last time he played was Minecraft Ultimate. That's like 3 years ago. Handsome Fella is a very like new content creator, so he's never played in the tournament before. And Super TF is an Overwatch professional player. Like, he would never play in a Minecraft event. And then Fruit obviously is a recurring player. But like, we really are making an attempt to try to reach for more variety. That's why you also see, and it's paying off, because that's why you see people like Sleepy and like Joe Bart and like Rainho and Lion Chew, like all these people that before Block Wars probably were known, but not known within the Minecraft community that much. You see them coming back because, you know, we're creating an environment that's much more welcoming to those types of players, and it creates for such an interesting just roster in general. Like, you know, there's plenty of people we plan to bring in who the Minecraft community will probably have never heard of, or barely have heard of, who will just help so much with making the event feel unique and having a roster that that feels like it's its own thing, as opposed to how other events obviously have, like I said, same players. And that's one big thing that I hope events can work towards. And it's a super difficult thing to do because you need connections to be able to expand your roster and have variety. But I really hope other events take an approach at making their roster feel different. And I think I know which event's going to do it next. I can't say what. I mean, there's not that many options, but I have an idea as to which event might.
Can you say it and I mute it, or are you just not going to say it to me either?
I can say it and you'll mute it.
Okay. Okay.
At some point, probably at some point. But yeah, I hope it's going to pay off, because what also is something that's very notable is in terms of who you can get, you should try to think outside of the box. Like, yes, you can get event players. One very notable group, of course, House Builder Gang. Plenty of them are active event players, like Feinberg, like Fruit, etc. Right? House Builder Gang has like 25 members. There's probably some House Builder Gang members who just don't play in events that much, who would be very interesting to see in events. And I'm sure that like at least a handful of them would be very down to play. I mean, I won't name names because I don't know if these people actually are interested, but like I can think of some people in House Builder Gang who I've only seen really before in like super small events, or like maybe like a Twitch Rivals a long time ago, because they were, they tag along with their friends, etc. type of situation, who I think nowadays would still be down. I mean, there's a person not from House Builder Gang who Anthos recently talked to and like presented Blockwars to, who was showed a lot of interest in joining, and at some point in the future they probably will join, who literally said, I used to play in events, I just never been talked to about events since, and I've always wanted, like, I've always been interested. So Blockwars is like the first event that's like opened up and messaged a person like this to be like, would you like to play? And they're like super excited. They're like, yes, I'd love to play. So yeah, sometimes think outside the box. Think of like maybe an old Minecraft Ultimate player. Maybe if you want to find some unique players, maybe you can look in there. I'm sure that a good amount of those people, as long as they're not canceled, would love to play still. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. And I, like I said, really hope events in 2024 make an effort to form an identity and create a roster that feels like their own.
I mean, this is what I'm trying to do with Mayhem. Like, it's a little bit harder because I've kind of picked up a roster that already has a lot of like, I kind of say samey, and it's not in a bad way samey, but it's samey nonetheless. And it's like, this is what I'm trying to get at with the team. And I'm really glad you've said this now, because it's like, you are saying this on the podcast. You are the player manager for Block Wars. If they're going to listen to, like, if they're not going to listen to me, at least, I'm not saying they're not listening to me, but if they're not going to, then it's going to be, they're going to listen to you, who is literally doing it. I have set of people in mind who I want to invite, and I have 6 names who I want to invite for next season. And I'm not inviting all 6, but the majority of them have never played in a tournament before. Or if they've played in a tournament, they haven't played in many tournaments. Right? They've played in a very minimal amount. They're not tournament players. They're not in like the names that I'm saying, like Pandora's Box, Minecraft Mania, Block Wars. Even some of them aren't in those. And it's like, whereas like, sometimes people want to play it safe with tournaments. They're inviting people who are in tournaments because it's like, oh, we know how to balance them. We know that people are going to want to team with them. We know this, we know that. And it's just like, but I don't want that. It's so like in the nicest way possible. And I'm not going to say any names because I don't want it to be taken out of context. But like, I don't want to keep inviting the people who are constantly playing in other tournaments, because it links back to what I said earlier with they have their chance to play in that tournament. Yes, Minecraft Mayhem is a different tournament. Yes, it has different games, but I want new people. I want stand out. Oh shit, they're playing in a tournament, rather than oh cool, you got them in your tournament. Does that make sense? And that's what you're doing with Block Wars. You're like, I mean, like when Joey Bart joined, it's like, oh shit, they're in Block Wars. It's not, oh cool, you got them in Block Wars as well.
It's kind of what old MCC feels like, and that's very much a nostalgia thing that I feel with Block Wars now. Is that excitement to see fresh faces in the community? That I mean, MCC used to be absolutely insane with who they added. I mean, one thing that comes to mind is like MCC 15. I think they added something like Rambo was added to that. I think Preston was added in that event. I can't think of who else. I think maybe 5UP and Antfrost were added to that event. Maybe, I don't remember. But like at the time, genuinely, like I mean, I've looked back at it and I've talked to some of my tester friends about this. We look back at like old MCC and like this kind of the glory days, I guess. Like the things used to be so good type of situation, where you look at who were getting added to MCC when it was so fresh and so new and growing and everything. It's just like, if that happened now, it would not be nearly as much appreciated because things have just been normalized so much. But if you still bring in a group of people that are fresh to the scene like that, of that magnitude, that's insane. Like, that would be incredible. I mean, in terms of block wars, I mean, I can't really think of an example, but like if we had like an event, I mean, I'm just going to name off huge names, like, I guess, if for whatever reason, let's say Block Wars 14, the newcomers are XQC, Ludwig, fucking whatever, right? Like huge names, or like either huge people who have a lot of viewers or like recognizable names to bring in. The event scene is going to look at that and just be like, whoa. They're like, wow, we haven't seen this. Like, I think the last time any other event besides Block Wars has done it is MCC Underdogs, where in MCC Underdogs, I know for a fact, I saw the Cyan team and I was like, whoa, that's insane. Like, disguised host, hello. Like, just obviously these are scenarios that for most events are super unrealistic to be able to get to now, but it's something that you should get, like, it should be your future aspirations to get to a size where this is possible. This is what Block Wars has been actively doing, and why things are looking really good, and why I'm so positive about things for Block Wars is we've built up this momentum and you know, these steps to just reach higher heights and get like more different people and unique people, where hopefully by the end of this year you'll be looking at an event like no other. Like, I am confident that Block Wars by the end of this year will just be like, it will have formed such an identity that, like, I don't know, I mean, I can't really compare it to anything, but like, I know some of my friends have said, like, I think Block Wars will be bigger than MCC, and I don't want to say that because like that takes away from MCC's quality and presence and just effort and passion that has gone into it. But like, I could see it, maybe. Do I think it's going to happen? You never know. You know, you just never know if your event is going to do that well. You can't really predict what's going to happen, but it's definitely possible. And the fact that it's possible is insane, because a year ago we were in a Block Wars 2 taking a huge risk with a split for this roster, adding a bunch of creators, making a huge move to try something new, or at least Block Wars, and hopefully in the future where we are now, something in general for the event scene, and it paid off. And that's just incredible. Like, looking back at the risks we took and all the worries we had, all the meetings we had to take, all the precautions we had to make for what if this happens, what do we do? You know, like, let's say, what if like all the players don't like it? Can we fall? Like, what do we do? And then, I mean, everything luckily paid off. But it's just great seeing like how a few risks early on develop over time, flourish over time, with support from players, support from viewers, support from just community members, lifting an event up to where we are now. And the next few months, I'm sure you're going to hear a lot from Block Wars. It'll be incredible. We're cooking something up. I can't say too much. We're cooking something up.
Okay.
In a couple of months, you'll be hopefully surprised. So yeah.
I mean, and that's what to say, like, with all of this as well, like, that you can't invite people who are in multiple tournaments, because you guys did it with Fruitberries. I mean, Fruitberries is in the majority of tournaments under the sun. I assume he's going to probably join other ones that he hasn't been in as well. And it's like, you can invite that, but still, like, I mean, with this thing, and this is being recorded before I've sent out invites, so I mean, you will see it like with the roster if it happens. But like, I'm looking to hopefully invite like a good few variety players who have played in tournaments but not many, and then like one or two people who like team maker suggestions of like they're in a good few tournaments but they would just fit the theme of Mayhem kind of thing. Does that make sense? Like, I just want to go full send kind of variety, like how, because that's the thing, right? And it's like, you know, it's a safety thing of, oh, like, and this isn't speaking from anyone, this is speaking from myself. It's like, oh, we wouldn't know how to balance them, oh, we wouldn't know how to, like, you know, we wouldn't know their skill level and stuff. And it's like, firstly, do the research on it if you really want to, and secondly, like, if no tournament is ever going to invite them, how are you going to know their skill level? You have to be the first one to take the risk. If you badly balance them, so be it, you badly balance them, or you perfectly balance them, and it's like, oh crap, we've just made a masterclass of an event, we know where they're going to place for good now, we can build on it. And it's like, I want, same way with you with Block Wars, essentially I want to be like with Mayhem, I want to get players who this is their first tournament that they join, and if they join other tournaments from Mayhem, so be it, that's fine, but we can at least turn around and be like, we had them first. With Block Wars you can go like, oh, we got them in first kind of thing, you know?
I mean, that is an example with Joe Bart. Joe Bart played in EVNT event, the Mind Draft. He played in the most recent Mind Draft event. I think it's called something else now.
I know what you're on about. I can't remember the name though.
Yeah, he played in an EVNT event, and the only reason he was even considered for that because he played in Block Wars. And I'm sure that I think Sleepy also potentially, I think Sleepy might have been in that as well. well, or I think he was supposed to be at least, maybe. I assume that's also through Blockwar. And maybe in the future, depending on who we add, maybe these people will love playing so much that they will also try to reach out to other events and try to get in. Or maybe, some of the players will reach out to them because they, these players think that they're interesting enough and, tag them along for something like a Pandora's Box or something like a Minecraft Mayhem. Depending on how significant the scales are here, maybe even an MCC, if that's even possible. But it just opens the door up for so much more variety to enter the scene. And I think that's what the Minecraft event scene really needs, because things are just getting stale, obviously, in terms of MCC. And I mean, even I guess in terms of newer events, for the most part, if you look at it from a non-event fan perspective, from like a Minecraft, just a random viewer perspective, there's not really much right now that's bringing people in to watch it, besides their creators, I guess, getting in. I guess that would maybe be the next step for like these events. But I think this change is very welcome. I think it's going to pay off for whichever events tries it. As long as you don't rush it and don't force it, it'll pay off. Also, very big thing, don't do everything at the same time unless you have an event specifically themed after that. If you have like a Rising event or whatever, a Rookies event even, where the purpose of it, partially at least, is to bring in noob faces, it's fine, but don't do it for a regular event, because then people will complain. Your player base is going to, you're going to create an environment where people are going to complain, and you don't want that.
What do you mean complain about? What parts are?
We've had it in the past where with Block Wars, obviously in the earlier creator events, we used to add like 10 plus newcomers every event. And like after 5 or 6 events of just 10 plus newcomers every time, some people were getting benched a little. And they had a very fair reason to complain then, because they were like, I'm getting benched because you're adding 10 people every single time. Can you like not do that? Sure, I was like, we'll look into it. And obviously we've slowed down since, but
Yeah, I think, I don't know, like I guess I can say this, I'm not saying anything. Looking at inviting maybe like a little bit of a wave this time, and then like March, April, maybe not invite anyone, or March like invite 1 or 2 people, because I invited, I think it was 7 people last event, and probably the same this event, but then next event it'll be like 2 people, for instance.
I mean, that makes sense, because I would say the roster right now is still pretty fresh and new. You're just building things up still. You shouldn't expect to do the same moves as like an MCC or as a Block Wars, because they're just kind of ahead in terms of development, both gameplay wise and roster wise, which is not really fair to compare. Like Block Wars only recently, I would say, got even close to competing with MCC, even though Block Wars has been around for a while. So like, I mean, other events would be in the same page. They'd have to take their time and focus on your own thing first before you look into, paying attention to the other events. As long as you're not copying them. As long as you're not copying them, you're good.
Yeah, exactly. Fair enough. I guess a question that I should have already asked, but we're kind of just talking anyways, is if you can reveal it, what was the reason for the split?
Oh, that's an interesting one. So I was the player manager. Obviously, I have been the player manager since Block Wars 11, Origins 11, I should say, because it's kind of confusing if I don't say that. So Origins 11, together with Master Garf. And after a couple events where we were expanding the roster with some creators and some Origins people, like some like MCC testers all at the same time, we were noticing that mixing these two groups together is possible, but really difficult. And it's at the expense of both the active players getting benched, because in terms of growing the event, the creators would get like a guaranteed chance in. And it also goes at the expense of who can get added, because we can't add a huge creator into the mix like that, like a Captain Sparkles, like I mentioned. We wouldn't have been able to add to Block Wars before the split, because in terms of roster variation and him fitting in, things just aren't like, that doesn't really make sense. So what we decided to do is I went up to Joey Capallo, who is one of the lead people at Block Wars. At the time, I think he was the lead person at Block Wars. And I said, hey, obviously team making, etc. I've noticed an issue and I have a proposal. I want to meet with you about this, and I want to try to figure this out and see if this is worth going for. And talked to him, and we came to the conclusion that this is an idea we should try, but it's very risky. So step by step, we had to talk to every single staff manager, because keep in mind, Block Wars is the first event ever to do a split. I assume other events possibly will also do a split. Maybe other events have done a split, but we were the first event to do it. So it was a massive risk because you have no comparative evidence of it working. You have to just pray that it works. So we had to figure it out fully. Every single situation, every scenario had to be figured out, where it was like, what if, where would every player go? What would be the requirements? How are you going to talk to these players to tell them that they're in this part of the event and this part of the event? What if someone complains and has a very fair argument? Are you going to fold pretty much, or are you going to say no? Like, we had to figure out every single scenario. Eventually, we had the concept of the split done, I think, for Origins 13 or 14, because I'm pretty sure we announced it to the players after, I think, Origins 13, and we said that there's 2 events remaining where you guys are all together. If you are an Origins player, at the time I said a smaller creator or like a non-creator, and you are friends with a larger creator in the event and you want to team together, let me know right now, and I will guarantee you guys get on the same team, because after 2 events from now, this will probably not be possible. I did a couple of those combinations. Afterwards, we did the split. It was controversial internally. I mean, it was a very sudden change to Block Wars. We went from a friend event to a friend and content creator mix event, to the main focus being content creators, with the friend events being the secondary events being Origins. And obviously it was controversial, but it took a couple of events for people to realize that this change is a win-win for both sides. The event gets to grow with creators, and creators get to have their own environments with people they're familiar with, and it just, like, it makes for an environment where they're comfortable and they can just play and have variety teams, etc. And Origins is probably the side that benefited the most from it, I would say, in terms of their player stuff, where they got to pretty much have anyone they asked for. There was no longer a requirement to stream. There was no longer a requirement, or at least I don't think there was a requirement to stream. No longer a requirement to have viewers, because that's a thing when you have creators. Viewership does get taken into consideration, and it just allowed the Origin side to really be a friend event again. It was just friends, MCC testers and whatever groups are in there, to just all play together and have a great time. And obviously, it's grown a lot over time in terms of who's in there and whatnot. And it just has made both Creator Event and Origins flourish in their own way and really form an identity and just be comfortable. And I think it's good. It's very nice. It's a very healthy environment, I'd say, in both sides of the event right now. And I'm really happy we took the risk with the split. It was a very big risk, but it was a very, very good reason, being that team making was getting really difficult, and benching people unfairly multiple events in a row isn't fun. So we came up with a solution and it worked.
Yeah. Fair enough. And now, I mean, what about Origins then? Does that get many invites nowadays? I can't imagine it really does it?
I think it gets like a couple people every single time. There's always at least like 2 or 3 newcomers, I think, to Origins every single time.
Okay. That's very sweaty. Origins is very, very try hard.
I wouldn't say it's sweaty necessarily. I think that's
for the good players, I guess. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
That's one thing that terminology wise, a lot of people do mix up. Sweaty and competitive are I guess high skill, whatever you want to call it.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're different things. It's like, I know people say Block Wars is sweaty. I fully disagree, because when do you see people do a practice stream? When do you see people VOD review? Never. They just play the game. Like, it's not sweaty at all. They're just good at the game. It's just competitive, I guess.
Players, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Whereas like in MCC, I mean, not so much more anymore, but there was an era where like half the roster was VOD reviewing and like practicing on the practice server. That's sweaty. Now people are like actively trying to get better and actively trying to do the best they can. You get to a point where things get a little bit sweaty.
That's when it gets too much.
Yeah.
Do you have any leaks that you can give us with Block Wars going forward? I mean, like, I know without saying too much, you said we should be hyped and looking forward to the future, which is completely fine. But is there anything in specific that you can kind of like even just hint towards?
Because I want to give some tea, some tea to the people, but I don't know if I can. I'm trying to think of if there's something I should be able to say that doesn't affect too much, and also isn't like a big nothing burger where I go like, there's gonna be a new extraction map in the next 3 events. Like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything, because there will be probably.
my construction suggestion, I made like a construction build and it didn't get accepted. It made me really, really sad. I thought it was a grass block and I thought it was really cool. It was actually lore, which will probably make it never getting, but I don't care. It was actually the InsideMC logo, but it was like it's literally just a grass blocks. I built like a grass block, and I suggested it as the name grass block. And I was ready for like if it got into be like, oh my god, InsideMC lore in block wars. But then I mean, I wouldn't have actually tweeted that. I mean, I will now if you add it after me telling you that I've done it. But like I was just it would have just been a little bit of a funny kind of little thing to have. But yeah, it didn't get accepted, and I'm really sad. So
unfortunately, I'm not involved with the construction build, so I have no say on that.
Fine.
Obviously, because if I play construction and I know the builds, that just makes it way easier.
Oh no, that's definitely what I was getting. I was definitely telling you this so you could go and like kind of hint, nudge, go get them to add it. No, I get what you mean. You are like a consistent player to go.
Yeah,
true. Does that ever cause like? Oh, actually no. Wait, before I ask that, yeah, back to the leaks. Is there any leaks?
Yeah, I can give some leaks. There will be probably a pretty significant rework to one of the current games, like probably in a couple of months from now, which will be pretty interesting. I mean, that's all I can say.
Okay, all right.
Because I can't say like, I mean, also there will be a new game at some point as well, like a brand new game in one of the following events. I won't get into detail what it is, but it's been in the works for a while, and I'm excited. It'll be great. So yeah.
I mean, that's my that's my thing. Is like I've made it very precise with Mayhem, for example, that I only really want to deal with like the player management side of things. I'm giving suggestions as well as like players of how they can change Mayhem dev side, but I got the podcast to manage. I'm happy to help with like player management and stuff like that, but the dev and stuff is out of my field. That is way too far up. I don't want to push my limits. So I'm giving suggestions, but that's kind of mainly up to the Mayhem team on what they want to do with that, which will be fun to see. Does it ever cause like not controversy, but you play in the event yourself quite a decent amount despite being a team maker? Like you could easily just put yourself on. I mean, we made the joke before the podcast, so you could just make a team of just OP players and finally win a block wars. But does it ever cause controversy with who you team yourself with? I notice you don't really team yourself with constantly like in quotation marks clouted players, so you do a good job at it. But has it ever caused like, oh, Wolfei's teaming himself with blah blah blah?
No, I don't think so, because I have purposefully avoided it. My role as a player in blockers is usually kind of to fill like whatever team needs a good player, and obviously I prioritize myself to get in because I help make the event and whatever. But yeah, no, it's not really been an issue. I could see it become an issue if the event does get larger and like I end up putting, well, this is not really an issue because I should be able to just team with my friends, because maybe contrary to what people think, I actually am friends with most of the people in the roster. They're not just my connections. So I don't know. It's never really been an issue, and I mean the players especially don't really care. For the upcoming event, I'm teamed with Sleepy for like the 4th time. I think with Booster also for like the 3rd or 4th time. Rainho and Super are probably 2 of the largest streamers in the event. Nobody's really mentioned anything about it. They're just excited that that's a team. They don't really care who's on it. So yeah, I mean, there was the whole. I mean, some people did talk about like my team being the same, pretty much as last time, and they were like, I don't know, it's the same thing. But then I posted my video about like my team's experience, and then multiple people afterwards are like, okay, I understand why you ran it back. Like this team is great. So yeah, like I don't know, it's never really been an issue. It's definitely been like talked about as like a hypothetical, like you could do this and like just don't. And I'm like, I mean, I never team myself with like too OP of a team or like super popular people. It's just my friends and people I think I will mesh well with and what will be a fun team. That's really all I care about. I literally haven't even won a block wars yet, so if anyone complains about me having a strong team, shut up. I've not even won yet. I made it to finals once, and it was the first event, and the reason I made it to finals is because nobody knew what they were doing, and I did, because I was in block wars before then, and half the roster was new. The only reason I got like 3rd or whatever, I've barely even cracked the top 5 I think since, besides maybe like rookies. So yeah.
I love how your best game is average point wise is move.
I'm a PvP or a parkour Andy, I'm a.
It's blitz hunt, then it's race, and it's construction. So yeah, you're actually like your kind of movement and your individual placements. I mean, you've played in every single block wars bar block wars 3 and 8. So I don't know why I said every single one, because it's not every single one, is it?
Pride, not really either. I subbed in for one game because it was an emergency.
Lol, 30-second, lol.
Yeah, 40-second casual.
Get good. Oh, sorry, 40-second even. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, get good. Come on. But yeah, I mean, like in cannons, like 3rd, 5th, 16th, 9th, 13th, 6th, 11th. Like you're actually pretty good at the game, Wolfeei.
I wonder if it's because I understand the games pretty well. I mean, that could be a pretty big factor.
I mean, you were meant to be a drunk team in Mayhem, and you guys nearly made it to the final game. So I mean, even then, like, you played pretty well.
I will stand by it. Look, the drunkenness made the team bounce because our team didn't sweep. We didn't even get second. We almost got second, barely, which would have meant it was just a strong team. Like I don't know. Some people did complain. Somebody like some of my friends were like, "Oh, cringe! Why did your team actually like do well? Stop trying." And it's like, why would we play in the event drinking and just completely throw? That would just mean that we wouldn't play half the games, and that wouldn't be fine. We just played. We didn't sweat it. We just had stupid strats and they worked. Like in the
watching and got into the chamber. Yeah.
There was like the kit PvP game.
Yeah, got into the chamber. I'm pretty sure that's called.
Yeah. No, I think that's the Valorant one, right? The CS:GO one.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, wherever the one is where you run and like
the kit PvP one.
Yeah.
We literally said, and this was before we even saw like any of our opponents. Sam said, "First team we see, we kill them, and or we go for them." And we're like, "Okay." And then the first team was Kellos, and we were like, "I mean, hey, we said it, so we're just gonna go for it anyways." And then I mean, I don't think we ended up winning the fight, but I think we got like half their team out. And then second round, I think was it like the orange team or whatever. We actually won that fight with losing a couple players. Third round, I don't even remember, man. I think just ran around in the middle and then just died eventually. So yeah, like I don't know. I think you know the drunkenness did help. I wouldn't say that I was fully drunk, but
I mean, on the admin stream, I was like memeingly praying on your guys' downfall. But I mean, like at the end of the day, I said it like if people go and complain on Twitter, oh well, like you know, you were drinking. If you're playing that good after drinking, so be it. At that point, fair enough. Like we made the team. I was ready. Like if there wasn't, but I mean, as far as I'm aware, there wasn't. But if there was backlash, like I was ready for it. But I'm like, I don't really get why. And like I was jokingly praying on the downfall, but I wasn't actually hoping you guys were gonna do bad. And I said like if they made the final game and they won it, like yeah, we know not to make the mistake of teaming a really really good team again. But at the end of the day, that's just you guys are good at the game. You know, it's not like your fault. It's not our fault. And I still think it was a good team because the like point difference between second, third, fourth, and fifth was really really close. Like making it to the final game was anyone's game. And like you know, as much as the first team sweep had like the first and second team sweep, then yeah, it's a bad thing. But I think it's a good event if it's like if the first team sweeps, so be it. But as long as like second, third, fourth, and fifth were really anyone's game, I think that makes for like still a really really good event in my eyes, anyways.
It could be interesting. I mean, I always am not a fan of just a single team or even two teams or three teams or whatever, like being so far ahead. Obviously, the best events are when everyone is in contention, but that's just impossible pretty much to do nowadays because there's so many people who just randomly decide to either get 16th or first. Like there's no consistency anymore nowadays.
Can't predict
it. Yeah, and like it's just impossible. Which is also when the community is like, wow, these guys are really bad at balancing. Of course this team was OP. You wouldn't have known that before the freaking team happened. What are you talking about? Like they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. I mean, I'm too much to talk about, but like maybe you've noticed it, but from being a player manager and like team making, etc., you start to learn how the community can be wrong sometimes. Sometimes they don't know what they're talking about. And it's something that I've noticed in terms of like MCC, where I used to be obviously a very active community member for MCC, and I was convinced, I could probably do it way better. I would be way better at this. Like my ideas are way cooler. And then now that I've done blockers, I'm like, nah, I understand why the things are the way they are. This totally makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I'm still relatively new, but I guess like I just have an interesting vision. I guess you came on at like the perfect time because I can actually sort of relate to you in a sense. So it definitely makes this podcast a lot more like fun because sorry, I know I'm talking about myself and Mayhem a lot. It's just my way of kind of relating and having a conversation in a sense. So.
That's fine.
I mean, it's still linking back to you and Block Wars at the end of it either way. So
yeah,
make good fun.
I like talking about events. So
yeah, I mean, you made a video a little while back, and it was talking about like I didn't watch it. I'm gonna admit I didn't watch it. I'm sorry.
That was fun.
The title was something. It was something about like Pandora's box, but possibly becoming split or something.
Oh yeah,
that one. As far as I'm aware, in that video, you said something along the lines that Pandora's box is gonna split. Did you, or am I wrong in saying that?
No. Well, you're wrong, but not entirely.
Okay.
I don't think there's any guarantees that they'll split immediately.
No, I mean,
I think it's just.
I'm saying what you said.
I think it's inevitable. I think at some point they'll have to split because as much as things are working out decently well right now. Some people similar to Block Wars are just getting benched a lot because they're like, you know, in terms of viewership, they're competing with people who are just larger and stuff. And PB also prioritizes viewership because they're trying to grow. And it's very similar to Block Wars where they can to have to at some point split if they don't want to completely like hold back part of their roster from being able to actively participate, even though these players really want to. They kind of have to. That's why I've said it's inevitable. And that video was controversial, I guess, because I was very like actively talking about a split as if it was going to happen, I guess if it was already planned, when that was obviously not the case, because if it was, people would have known about it. But I was very forward, I guess, with my approach in the video. And in retrospect, it seems like at least the PB community and staff have started to at least come to an understanding of what I was saying, and even a partial agreement. But that's not up to me to decide. I don't organize Pandora's box. It was just a friendly suggestion from someone who has very comparative experience. And the community didn't take it the right way, but that's something that the PB community is partially known for, not for taking things the wrong way, but for being super passionate. And they vocalize their passion. Sometimes is a little bit very straight to the point and a little bit harsh/rude sometimes. But I can't fault the staff for that pretty much at all. So yeah, it's up to them to decide whether a split's going to happen. I think it will. Don't know when, but I also don't know if it actually will happen. I don't know.
The thing is, I have like a really hot take, and it's a really kind of hot take view on things, and I'm not going to go into like a massive tangent of trying to explain myself, so I'm just going to say it and kind of like add a little bit to it. Is I think like, and no names in particular here, so, and this is how I see it. If you're listening to this and you think it's about you, that's not my fault, because I'm not saying it's about you. I'm not saying it's about anyone in particular. I'm just saying it as a common point. It's like, I feel like a lot of people kind of, they want into events, but then events want to grow, right? You want Block Wars to grow. Pandora's Box, I'm sure, wants to grow. Like, as much as I'd love to keep Mayhem community, I want to see Mayhem grow. I want it to, because you don't want it to be stuck in a thing. And I think it's like a lot of people, and this is the hot take, so be prepared, a lot of people aren't willing to grow with the times. And I think it's a case of like, a lot of people want to get into these tournaments, so that's completely fine. And they want to do stuff, and they want to play in these tournaments, and they're like, they're not expecting an invite, but they want to play in it, but they're not like really putting in the work to make it happen. Like, okay, I'm doing it in my own way of, I don't stream much, and when I do stream, I don't average, and I'm not saying I'm doing the podcast to get into tournaments, but I'm still kind of growing in a sense of, even if it's just through connections and not through numbers. I mean, like, it's what a lot of people have, but I'm actively trying to grow with content creation, and that might reflect in something in the future, wherever it be like being invited to a video, for example, or being invited on somebody else's podcast, that kind of thing. But like, a lot of people are hoping to get into these tournaments, or like, oh, I want to stay in this tournament, for instance, like with Block Wars and the split. Once again, not saying anyone who is in Origins is complaining, so please don't take it like that. I'm just using it as an example because you guys split, and it's like, say I had a tournament and I split the tournament, I owned my own one, for instance, I split it. The people who were like, some people would be satisfied with it and like fine, then some people are actively going to try and grow to get into the, in quotation marks, main event, and it kind of just shows the difference. And it's like, I don't know, I just feel like people aren't really always willing to put the work in. That's as much as I'm going to explain it. And again, I'm linking back again to the, I'm not talking about you, but if you look at it and you feel like I'm talking about you, then that should hopefully be like a motivation thing to shout more content. I know not everyone can, but then don't expect anything from it, if that makes sense. So
also, sometimes, as harsh as it may sound, sometimes people kind of need a reality check, or like, sometimes it doesn't make sense for a person to be in an event right now. Maybe it needs time, or maybe they're too late sometimes, and that's the harshest part, when they're too late, because there's people
What do you mean too late? What do you mean by that?
There's people who have asked to join Block Wars recently, who, if they asked like at the start of Block Wars, would have gotten invited immediately, but now things are complicated. It's the same with MCC. I mean, some of the people who got added to MCC, like I guess maybe recently, if they had asked like literally for like MCC 2, they would have possibly gotten it, just because you just, sometimes it's easier. It's pretty much a graph that's like a curve where like it starts small, it like goes really high up in the middle, and it dips off. That's like something like Block Wars, like at the start of the big curve, where it's just really difficult to fit in like smaller creators now, as newcomers especially, unless they are like weaker players to help us balance the roster out. But like larger creators who are really good at the game, it's just hard. Like, we added Fruit, and I love Fruit. He's great. But in terms of helping us make the event weaker, he's not helping. Okay, let's be real. Okay, he's Fruit berries.
He's not helping in any sense, though.
No, does that mean he's going to get, like, not to play as much? No, probably not. I mean, he won't notice anything about it. It's just something that we have to deal with internally. And it's, to the point where I can't add another player like him to the roster, because what do I do at that point? I mean, I'm just going to have to cycle people in and out even more. That leads back to the part of, like, some people who get benched a lot. They're just going to get benched more often, or maybe even permanently, because we just can't fit them in. And I mean, that I wouldn't want to do that. So yeah.
It's just a bit tough. Just work hard and hope that the results follow. And even if it's not through a tournament, they'll follow in other ways. Like the podcast, I mean, I've worked hard and now I'm sitting down with Wolfeei. And like that, I see that as, and like, not to give you an ego here, but I see that as a success in itself that I've been able to bring you on and have this conversation with you today. Because, give or take 5-6 months ago, had I have slowed down on podcasts and only been uploading like once a month, this wouldn't be happening right now. But because I put in the work, because I'm going to bed at 2 a.m. and waking up at 7 a.m, going to work, all that kind of stuff, working my ass off, it is paying off. And that's the only way you grow. I can't remember who I was saying this to, but don't expect things to be handed to you. Work for them. Like, you don't get accepted to a job with no qualifications. So
yeah, and I mean, even just working hard sometimes, I mean, in terms of events, at least I'll compare this to Block Wars, because Block Wars is working so hard and so actively doing things right, at least in the view from some players. They offered to help us. Like, one notable moment is when 5UP brought in his team of like Masayoshi Saikuno and It's Timmy for Block Wars 6 randomly, pretty much. It was a huge, like, still to this day, very thankful that 5UP did that, because that was huge for us. Like, obviously Block Wars at the time, our biggest creator I think was Tubbo by like a long shot, and we didn't even really have a variety creators besides like Sleepy. Like, huge moment, and all of that is just thanks to us working, and Bible recognizes that and he enjoys it, as an example, right? And from that he's willing to bring in his friends, and obviously he's aware that that's like a big moment for Block Wars. It's something that he'd be willing to do, and we've had it in the past now too. I mean, it's mainly like Misty and Anthos, who I work with. They see the passion that we put in, and they offer to bring in some friends as well. Obviously, as player managers, it makes a bit more sense for them to offer that. But even if they weren't player managers, they would offer to do this, just because we speak to each other frequently, and like they see the dedication. Yeah, it's respect and just the passion. They feel like they should reward it. I guess to an extent. Like it sometimes you just have to put in the work, and eventually things will pay off. It's just really hard to stay dedicated and motivated, and sometimes you have to commit to something that looks like it won't be worth it. I mean, I've put in hundreds of hours into Block Wars with no like financial compensation for it. Obviously, I'm aware of this because it's a voluntary thing. And after months and months of work, even like I guess over a year and a half maybe of working on it, things are finally looking bright and paying off. And had I stopped half a year ago, this wouldn't have happened. And half a year ago, if you had told me this was going to happen, I wouldn't have believed you, because it took until I'd say rookies was probably the turning point. Until rookies, things were looking like a pretty like straight line going up, or like a slight diagonal line. Rookies, things went exponentially up, and the door opened. So sometimes it just happens out of nowhere. It's the same with my content. I mean, my initial blow up was talking about how I sounded like Technoblade. I would have never guessed that video would have gotten like 600,000 views and shot my channel from 4,000 to 24,000 subscribers in like a week. How would I have known that? Sometimes gotta stay to the grind, and sometimes it's luck, and the combination of that is why certain people are where they are, like Block Wars. It's dedication and a little bit of luck.
I mean, like, the luck only comes from working hard as well. I mean, how I see my turning point with the podcast was when Fulham came up. That's when like everything kind of. I'm satisfied with every single guest that came on. Yes, of course, but like once I brought Fulham on, that's when it felt like things were changing, and it's like all I needed, and it was luck, was Fulham to accept my Twitter DM or accept my friend request on Discord and say yes, then actually show up for the recording. That's all I needed, and then bang, everything kind of goes on.
It's a snowball effect. We've mentioned it. A lot of things that happen in this community and this like environment of Minecraft and Minecraft events is just a snowball effect. Opportunities just appear once you make a name for yourself, and once you get the spotlight, and getting there is just the challenge. And there is no like formula to it. You just have to do it. I mean, my friend Ashwag, I talked to somebody recently, said it literally. He said, according to him, he's never seen someone properly grind and fail. Every single person who's stuck to the grind has succeeded at some point. Sometimes it takes a couple months, sometimes it takes 3 years. But if you just grind, eventually you'll get there. You have to stay dedicated, and the viewers will eventually recognize it.
Your story proves it. I mean, you went from MCC testing to now running the second biggest Minecraft tournament, maybe even the biggest Minecraft tournament, depending on how you really want to look at it.
Second biggest for sure. I'd say right now.
The biggest. There we go. That's the best way of wording it. I reckon.
Exactly.
And you're killing it, and you deserve it. I've always been really bloody interesting. So thank you so much. And you do have a lot to say. And I'm talking to you, clearly really deserve it. So
I appreciate that.
Big props. Is there anything with Block Wars that we haven't mentioned that you'd want to go over? Anything in the event scene, like a topic that you wanted to talk about that like you'd like to kind of have a discussion about, or anything you can
something fun to mention. At least the Block Wars community has absolutely no idea of how Block Wars works. They don't know. I look at Block Wars predictions and I'm like, this makes no sense. Like it's like newcomers who usually, honestly, in terms of newcomers, they're pretty tame usually. They pretty much only go for like Minecrafters and competitive Minecrafters, when if you look at the recent ads, we don't really add those types of people that much, really. I wouldn't really say that we add like any
when you look at a Reddit of like suggested newcomers.
Exactly. They're like team predictions or like top 10 most likely newcomers, and it's like, wow, half of these people I don't even know.
I was in 10th for some bizarre reason on most suggested. I don't think I'm 10th for most suggested on the Reddit. I searched my name and I think I've only been suggested maybe 2 or 3 times by the same person. But somehow I've made it into a top 10 list for suggested Block Wars players. So I agree. I think you're completely right.
I mean, I already said it. Like the MCC community doesn't really know what they're talking about, especially now that I've seen some of the internal stuff obviously in testing, and I've seen some of the internal stuff from talking to someone like Scott about like team making and event management in the past. Things aren't as cookie cutter as it may seem. Like things are complicated, and people won't really be able to understand how things really work until they do it. Like that's what I've seen from myself while learning things. It took a while for me to completely understand like how things work. Team making I've been doing for years. I've only gotten like pretty good at it from experience, whether that is making drafts of hypothetical teams or making the actual teams for Origins and learning like what works, what doesn't work. And one really big part that I would say I myself, and I know Scott for sure also are good at in terms of team making, is just knowing your players. Know what type of player are they, what type of personality are they, and what works together. Because I know in MCC, at least early on, it makes for some fantastic combinations of people you wouldn't really expect to see together. Something that comes to mind is Fruit Berries and Korean. Great combo, super cool, super wholesome, fantastic. Would you have been able to predict that was going to happen before MCC? Hell no. And like in Block Wars, I mean, I would say for Block Wars 10, the blue team is a fantastic example of team making. I mean, I am gassing myself up, but I think that's one of the best teams I've ever seen, ever. It's just such a good combination of people who personality-wise just click. And I've heard it from it. By the time this video is up, the team would have already played. But in practice, they literally talked once, and immediately from Anthos, he said, by the way, this team is like, it works so well. Like they haven't even played yet, and they already know it just works. Like not even every player was there. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just, it takes time to figure it out. And the community just, they have to learn. And I don't know. That's really it.
Player checklist can make it a little bit hard though. Overall, I mean, like,
yes.
I'm happily very open to say that there's a player checklist for Mayhem. I have a strong, what would be the word, prediction, I guess, that Block Wars also has one.
Block Wars was the first event to make one. I invented the checklist.
Yeah, perfect. There we go. See, so and it's like I mean, looking through the like, there's like a team that I had in mind, right? And it was the complete opposite of what the checklist said. And in my head, I'm like, that team would slap, but the player checklist, that team would go to shit. And it's just like, it's so annoying. Like, it's good to have, and of course I'm glad we have it, and I'm glad you guys started the trend of it and that we have it, and it's good. But it's also like, I want to team these two people because I feel like they'd make a good event, but like one of them is not sure and the other one's also not sure, and it's like, but I feel like you'd be good together, but I can't put you together because I'm not going to go against your checklist, So,
Main Block Wars, by the way, does not have a checklist. It's only Origins. Yeah, only Origins. Main Block Wars does not. Neither does MCC, obviously. But like, I think MCC and Block Wars main are the two events that don't. I know Pandora's Box has one. Origins has one. Mayhem seems to have one. I assume other events probably maybe have it too. Yeah. So I'm glad it works out. I mean, it's necessary for for those types of things, because in the creator space, I obviously, I know of some drama internally and some people who have beef with each other, and I mean, and some things are public, some things are not. I just know who can't be teamed together, and we just have a question on the forum: who do you not want to team with? If you don't put it on there, how am I supposed to know? At that point, it's not my fault. And then I'll hear eventually, they're going like, because it's happened a couple times in the past where they're like, oh yeah, you team with this person, I'd rather not. Could you like either sub me out or like put me on a different team? And then, I mean, the most recent example, can't say what it was, I just swapped 2 players and it worked. So
yeah, but that's why the checklist is nice, because it avoids that. Like, we made these teams perfect to the checklist.
Yep.
So it works, and it's just a nice safety kind of net to have, essentially. But then it also just stops some possibly really cool teams, because we've opened the doors of, okay, you can say that you don't want to team with this person and we won't put you with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a thing where players just have to get comfortable. I mean, there's been people in Block Wars who, when they first joined on their sign-up form, would say like, I want to know every person on my team. I mean, I don't want to be teamed with new people, who nowadays put on their form, put me with 4 new people, I don't mind. Like, because we have a question on the forum that's like, how many people would you like to be teamed with that you already know? And it ranges from 1 to 4, obviously, because it's teams of 5. And most people, I would say they either want like to know 4 people, or sorry, other way around. Most people who sign up don't really care about who they're teamed with. They trust us. They trust that we'll give them a good team that they'll enjoy, or they just don't really mind, or they want to meet new people, etc. Then there's a couple of people who say they want to know 2 people on their team, so they don't mind if half of their team are people that they're not familiar with. Some people say 3. Very few people say that they want to know 3 people on their team or all people on their team, which is good because it makes team making way easier. And yeah, I mean, it just kind of comes to show that like took a while for that to really develop. But yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, Block Wars is managing it pretty well, clearly, anyways, without the checklist. So, I mean, like you said, you just swapped 2 players, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see where the Minecraft event space is at this year. I think it's at a good place where to like fully establish if a tournament really wants to establish itself. I think this year is the year to do it. I know Block Wars is already established, but you get the point I'm trying to get at. It's like, it'll just be interesting to see. I feel like, if people can sometimes be too scared to branch out, and as much as it's a good thing because you have the safety in like the people it's also, I don't know, it just gets too consistent when you're seeing the same names appear in every tournament,
Yep.
And that's why I have so much respect for Block Wars, because I'm like, yes, they are doing what I wanted to see happen, and they are branching out. And like, it doesn't mean you can't invite people who are like seen in other tournaments in the future. I mean, it'd be cool to see some like people who are in other tournaments finally get to play in Block Wars, but it's also a case of you're getting people who haven't played in any tournaments in Block Wars, and it's a good balance to have, kind of thing.
Yes, for sure.
And yeah, you've hinted at rookies, or sorry, like underdogs or rookies a few times. You said it was after 10, right?
Yes. So next event, by the time this is upcoming.
You're not hinting, you've said it. Yeah, what's wrong with
I've said it. Yeah, upcoming event. By the time this is up, will be a rookies event. I did want to say rookies, because I know that when rookies came out, it was a little bit controversial because we announced it after Rising, and the way we worded it kind of made it seem like we tried to do Rising because we mentioned it would have new people. Obviously, by the time that the teams came out, it was very obvious that it was not a Rising event. But that rookies is something that I've wanted to do for a while. Block Wars, I think it was after Block Wars 6 when the Saikuno and 5-Up team, etc. played. I was like, it would be so cool if we made an environment where people like this can just play and have a chance, like actually like be able to play like every other Minecrafter can play. Because in an event, normally they have to compete with like super good players across the board, and the max placement they'll be able to get is like 20th or maybe 30th, depending on how good they are. Where in rookies, there's just such a lower skill range. That's just an environment made for the non-creator or non-Minecrafters, the variety creators, that I think has really allowed them to just experience an event properly. And it's paid off. Like, it was received super well. And that was also partially inspired by Underdogs. MCC Underdogs, I mentioned it time after time. One of the coolest events I've ever seen, and it was just because of the roster. It was like, MCC obviously is a fantastically well-made event. I think just because they switched up the roster, it already made for a super interesting event to watch. I hope they do it again at some point. I don't know if they will, but I really hope they do. So yeah, that was that.
I've got some really cool event concepts I want to see happen. I'm hoping that like no event does it before us, because some of them, like, I mean, one of them, I think I've said to like Shalom, for instance, I want this to happen in November. I just think it'd work perfectly in November. So now we just kind of got to hope in the next months no event does it first, but we'll see what happens. I mean, at the end of the day, we've got a few, so it's just about actually making them happen, kind of thing,
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, at least in terms of like the big three to me, which is MCC, Block Wars, and Pandora's Box. I don't think that they will be doing many new like types of events. I mean, Block Wars isn't really planning on doing any spin-off events besides Pride and Rookies for now, at least.
Yeah.
I don't think PB has really ever done a non-canon event. I guess I don't really know if they were planning to do it, because I think they're just mostly focusing on just having the events hosted consistently. That's also what the community wants. Yeah. And MCC already has like so many types of non-canons where they really don't need to make a new type for now. I think if they just bring back something like an Underdogs, do another Twitch Rivals, do another MCC party, maybe do another Scuffed, obviously Pride, that's already like enough for the entire year. So yeah, I don't think you have to worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, won't we, at the end of the day?
Mm-hmm.
Moving into the Twitter questions then. Definitely perfect transition. I have a few here. I haven't actually, so normally I write them down, but with you, I'm kind of just going to scroll through them because you got quite a few like interesting ones. So the first one comes from UB. Wolfeei, why are you red? Oh, RB, sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant.
It's my friend RB, yeah.
RB. Wolfeei, why are you red?
I like the color red. That's it. I just really like it. I mean, I feel like it's not necessarily my favorite color, but I've always associated myself with red because, I mean, I guess my childhood friend really liked blue and or like aqua, like a very, very, very old friend of mine really liked the color aqua, and I was like, well, red's kind of the opposite, and I like red, so then I stuck with it. Red's just something I attach myself to.
Okay, yeah, pretty easy answer. From Jados. What has been your most proudest moment while making Block Wars teams?
Ooh, that's a really good one. Honestly, when we did the Block Wars 9 roster, when we had that, I was on top of the world. I was like, holy crap. Like, because everything was handed to us. It wasn't even a thing where like I necessarily did a really good job at team making. Yeah. I did put some people together, but we had like, things were just made so easy for us where I was like, wow, Block Wars is getting like the support from the player base actively wanting to play. And it was just incredible. Like it was insane. And I don't know, I think that's probably my proudest moment until now. We have some stuff coming up that I'm really looking forward to. For example, Rookies 2, I'm very much looking forward to. And yeah, I mean, I think for now it's probably Block Wars 9. Yeah, I mean, Block Wars 6 pink team was also a very proud moment. Block Wars 4 pink team, which was Abe, Pete, 5up, Fur, and Sleepy, a team of people that, I mean, Fur was like a standout player on there, but the other people signed up as duos. The combination worked so well, and still to this day, one of the best teams we've ever made. A couple of answers, I guess, but that's pretty much it. You didn't
have to just pick one. That's fair. Good choices, though. Very, very good choices.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final one comes from Fanboy Ain't. Have I said that right?
I know Ain't. Ain't's a Block Wars Origins player.
Yeah. What motivates you to continue helping with Block Wars, and what do you feel is the most difficult thing you've dealt with when organizing it? You don't have to answer the second part if you don't want to, but I'm happy. I'm interested to hear the first. I can re-ask it if it was too much in one go there.
What motivates me is just seeing a creation just flourish, and kind of because I've seen Block Wars like start from the ground up again. When we did this series 2, started seeing it from the ground up, and it was just really inspiring to see the event grow. And what motivates me is, I mean, I've been given quite a lot of creative freedom in ideas that we try out for Block Wars or even make happen in Block Wars. And these are ideas that, I mean, sometimes I used to suggest them for maybe like MCC on like my old videos. Maybe these are just things I randomly pop up with in my head. And it's just really cool to just have this thing that I'm in charge of for the most part work. And it's just like, I mean, it's pretty successful. And it's really just, it's kind of a loop. Like I put in the effort and I see the response and I'm like, wow, that like, what a great response. And I put in the effort again and I see the response. It just keeps looping back and forth until maybe at some point, maybe I'll get tired of it. But for now, no signs of stopping for me. And what was the second part of the question again?
What do you feel is the most difficult thing you've dealt with when organizing it?
I think the most difficult part so far was building up the creator roster pretty much during like not the peak of MCC, but when MCC was still doing pretty well, which is like end of season 2, where it was really hard to get people interested in another event because MCC was still is such a like prominent event, such a good event and successful event. You can just play only MCC and be satisfied. Some players just play MCC and they don't really need anything else. So getting them interested in block wars, something new that they've never heard of before, was pretty challenging. But it worked out. I mean, early block wars was definitely a bit of a struggle, but over time, I mean, it's now been over a year since, and things have gotten a lot easier. So not really a problem anymore. But that was a really big issue, and like substitutions were really hard because we'd have like a roster where we'd make the teams and they're pretty strong, and we have most of the newcomers are like weaker players, and like all the substitutes are really good players, and then last minute one of the weaker players drops out. Who do we put there? We don't have any weaker players left, and that's definitely like a stress moment that we've had to deal with a couple of times. But yeah, I mean, thankfully nowadays not much of a worry anymore. But yeah.
With that being said, then Wolfeei, that sadly brings the end of this Inside MC.
Did I pull it off? World record longest podcast on this channel? It's been like 3 hours almost.
This has been a 2.5 hour recording. The Fruitberries one we recorded for I think about 3 hours and 10 minutes. So I mean, no, it's not going to be.
Almost. Well,
it's going to be one of the longer ones, definitely. It's going to be up there with one of the longer ones. Not world record. Might be. It's definitely top 10, I reckon. So I mean,
hey, that's good.
Who knows? Maybe in the future, if you're interested, if you enjoyed this one, not to put you on the spot here, once everything happens with block wars, all the interest and stuff, I mean, I could always bring you back on and then combine the two podcasts, and then technically it becomes the world's longest one. So on a technicality.
I mean, sure. I mean, hey, if something insane happens, and you want to have a little chat, then feel free to reach out, and we'll see if it's possible. I don't know if Block Wars blows the heck up at the end of this year. Suddenly we have like Ludwig playing every event. Yeah, feel free to reach out again.
As long as you're interested, not to put you on the spot, So
yeah, no, that's fine. I'd be done if there is enough to talk about. Yeah, sure.
Before I do the outro here, then I'd like to give the opportunity for you to promote whatever you like, as long as it's not like an ad deal or a sponsorship. You can go ahead and promote yourself. Where can we find you? Where can we find Block Wars if you're interested in doing that? Where can we find like Wolfeei Mogul Mail? Which I guess this was technically just an entire Wolfeei Mogul Mail video, so we didn't really need to talk about that. But yeah, promote whatever you like.
Subscribe to Wolfeei and Wolfeei Extras. Best content on YouTube. Yep, totally. And my Twitter at Wolfeei, but the L is a capital I. And then that's all you need. For the rest, you'll see the streams appear at some point.
At what point?
Yeah, they'll randomly appear at some point. I don't know.
whenever Wolfeei feels like going live, have notifications on, and
whenever teams get announced, or like
prediction streams, all that kind of jazz.
Or like an event happens, or maybe if I can find something to stream that
just anything that works. Well then, Wolfeei, thank you so much for coming on. You've been an amazing guest. Thank you all for watching. This has been Inside MC. Don't eat too much bread. Pieces.